Chapter 48:26. Just as she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang did not stay any longer. She took large strides forward and quickly left. Based on the situation that she had noticed, there seemed to be someone approaching from not too far away. Even though she did not know whether the other party was a friend or foe, it was undoubtedly the best choice to leave and observe before the other party arrives. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang turned around and took a few steps, a sneak attack came stealthily towards her. Bailey Hongzhuang's figure flashed and turned into a ray of white light, disappearing from the spot and evading the other party's attack. Stopping in her tracks, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Su Minglei, who had attacked her. Her contrasting black and white eyes were filled with a sense of gloominess. "Sir Su, you don't seem to want me to leave?" Her clear and cold voice was filled with chilliness. If she had not been on guard against Su Minglei, the other party's attack would have been calculated perfectly. Once she was hit by this attack, she would definitely be injured. Su Minglei clearly did not expect his attack to miss. He had calculated the time and angle. Logically speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang should not have been able to evade it. The only possibility was that Bailey Hongzhuang had been on guard against them all this while. It was because of this that she was able to react at the first instance. After understanding this point, Su Minglei's gaze towards Bailey Hongzhuang changed slightly. He had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was only good at pill refinement. He never thought that the other party's vigilance would be so strong. Previously, the clan elder had told him not to underestimate cultivators from the lower realm. This was because they had come from one place to another. The training and cruelty they had endured was fundamentally different from theirs. He had not understood it at first, but after witnessing this scene, he suddenly understood. From the beginning, Bailey Hongzhuang had never trusted them and had always been prepared to defend herself. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Su Minglei did not feel awkward at all. After all, he had been prepared the moment he had decided to make his move. It would be best if he could kill him in one blow. Otherwise, he would have to force him to hand over the spiritual grass. According to his judgment, when they arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang had already picked all the most precious spiritual herbs. Although he did not know what kind of spiritual herb it was, he was sure that it was extremely valuable. "Hand over your storage ring, and we'll let you go." Su Yaqing's gaze locked onto Bailey Hongzhuang. The two of them had arrived late, so Bailey Hongzhuang's harvest was definitely much more than theirs. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. "Just now, the two of you have already broken your promise, and now you say such things again. Do you think I will believe it? You don't have a choice." Su Yaqing's eyes were cold. "If you don't hand over the storage ring, we won't let you leave. If you hand over the pill formula for the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, I won't take your spiritual grass." Su Minglei said, although the spiritual grass was very valuable, as long as they had the pill formula for the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, their value would truly be limitless. "So that's your goal." A disdainful smile flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's deep, bottomless eyes. Her expression suddenly turned fierce. "Then we'll have to see if you have the ability to do so." As soon as she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang's aura exploded. She had not wanted to fight them, but now that things had come to this, a fight was unavoidable. Chapter 48:27. A look of astonishment flashed across the Su siblings' eyes. They never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would dare to take the initiative to fight them under these circumstances. Most importantly, judging from Bailey Hongzhuang's expression, it was obvious that she was not afraid of them at all. The two of them could not help but look at each other at the thought of this. Could it be that they had made a mistake in their previous judgment? Big brother. The calmness on her face could be an act. Su Yaqing sized up Bailey Hongzhuang as her mind raced. Pretending to be calm was also a method. If they give up because of this, perhaps Bailey Hongzhuang's plan would succeed. Su Minglei nodded. He and Su Yaqing had the same idea. Since they had already made their move, they must obtain the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. The heavens had given them a chance by allowing them to meet Bailey Hongzhuang at the first opportunity. They could only take advantage of this opportunity to resolve everything unknowingly. Then, Su Minglei and Su Yaqing no longer hesitated. The power within their bodies surged out, and they charged towards Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. Master, leave Su Minglei to me. Seeing that the other party had made their move, Baisher naturally would not decline. Ever since his cultivation had increased, he had not found anyone to practice with. This fellow had actually dared to set his sights on his master. He would never let him off. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. Both of you, deal with Su Minglei together. His powers are not to be underestimated. Even though she does not know much about Su Minglei, his powers would not be weak if he was able to become the leader of an aristocratic family's disciple. All right. When Su Minglei saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had charged towards Su Yaqing and left her 2 contracted beasts to deal with him, his eyes flashed with astonishment. He then could not help but chuckle. Indeed, Bailey Hongzhuang's toughness had been an act. She did not dare to fight him and had instead sent her 2 contracted beasts to fight him. It was obvious that these 2 contracted beasts were here to throw their lives away. He only needed a single move to deal with these 2 contracted beasts. A smug look flashed across Su Minglei's eyes. As long as he could control Bailey Hongzhuang, he would be able to obtain the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill and the pill formula of another long-lost pill. At the same time, he would also be able to ask Bailey Hongzhuang how she was able to contract 2 demonic beasts. This point also made him very puzzled. Clearly, every cultivator could only have 1 contract beast, so why was Bailey Hongzhuang able to contract 2? This was too strange. Now, he felt that the cultivators from the lower realm were full of secrets. He had never encountered such a situation before. Bailey Hongzhuang, you sent these 2 contracted beasts to deal with me. Are you trying to send them to their deaths? Su Minglei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a sneer. If that's the case, I advise you to just hand it over and save yourself the trouble. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Su Minglei indifferently. If you want to fight, just do it. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Su Yaqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her and chuckled. It's already come to this point. Why are you still putting up a strong front? With your strength, I don't even need to think to know that you're no match for us. Those who died in my hands before also thought so. Chapter 48-28. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang's lack of fear, Su Yaqing's heart was filled with suspicion. She had originally thought that Bailey Hongzhuang had only done that to scare them. Once she succeeded, she would be able to escape. However, Bailey Hongzhuang could no longer escape. Yet, she still maintained her previous confidence. This was a little strange. Since you're so insistent, I can only grant you your wish. Su Yaqing's gaze turned cold. She did not believe that her powers were inferior to an alchemist from the lower realm. If that was the case, it would be too laughable. When Xiao He and Baisher saw that Su Minglei did not place them in his eyes, they were not displeased. Su Minglei had underestimated them and was at a disadvantage. Pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger was something they were very good at. Su Minglei looked lazily at the 2 contracted beasts in front of him and reached out to call the fiery cloud fox over. Wasn't it a joke to let him deal with 2 contracted beasts? Fiery cloud fox, I'll give you a chance to train. The fiery cloud fox stood next to Su Minglei. When it saw Baisher clearly, its fur instantly stood up. Go! Su Minglei looked at the fiery cloud fox and said. The fiery cloud fox stared speechlessly at Su Minglei. Was this fellow mistaken? He was actually asking it to deal with a beast king? Don't you know about the hierarchy among monstrous beasts? Based on the difference in their levels, it was impossible for it to win against a beast king. Su Minglei saw that the fiery cloud fox was only staring at him blankly and had no intention of attacking. He frowned. You don't dare to attack? The fiery cloud fox nodded. What a joke. This was completely asking for a beating, all right? Seeing this, Su Minglei was secretly astonished. Su Yaqing's fiery cloud fox was rather powerful. Usually, when there were monstrous beasts around, the fiery cloud fox would be responsible for dealing with them. Now it was behaving so strangely. Su Minglei did not force it. He waved the long staff in his hand and attacked Baisher. Just as he attacked, Baisher's figure flashed and dodged the long staff. His white and red body transformed into a beam of light, and shot towards Su Minglei at lightning speed. The sudden attack and speed stunned Su Minglei. The Firecloud Fox was also a Yao beast that excelled in speed. Unexpectedly, this Yao beast was even faster than the Firecloud Fox. Shua! In the blink of an eye, a claw mark appeared on Su Minglei's face. Feeling the pain on his face, Su Minglei's face became very ugly. He never thought that he would be attacked by a contract beast. Although the scars on his face were nothing, it was still too embarrassing. However, White Lion was not satisfied with his attack. If Su Minglei had not reacted so quickly, that attack would have been enough to severely injure him. Xiao Hei's movements were also very fast. While the White Lion was moving, she took the opportunity to appear behind Su Minglei. Su Minglei's figure had just stopped, and he was still immersed in the gloominess of being attacked by the White Lion. His foot, which contained the power of light, kicked out fiercely. Bang! Su Minglei did not notice that Xiao Hei had run up behind him. Most importantly, from his point of view, a little fellow like Xiao Hei would only be able to launch sneak attacks. Her strength was not that great. However, his judgment was wrong once again. Chapter 48-29. Just as he was about to make a move, Xiao Hei's figure grew larger and he mercilessly kicked over. However, after the kick, Xiao Hei instantly shrunk its body again. The Fire Cloud Fox at the side also widened its eyes when it saw Xiao Hei's ability to change its body size. Although some demonic beasts could also change their body size, the difference in Xiao Hei's size was too terrifying. At the very least, it never knew that a demonic beast could change its body size so drastically. When Su Minglei turned around and saw the shrunken Xiao Hei, he was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He couldn't understand how a contracted beast with such a small body could have such terrifying strength. First, he underestimated Bai Shi. Now, he underestimated Xiao Hei. This was simply asking for his life. I've underestimated both of you. Su Minglei looked coldly at the two contracted beasts in front of him. It had only been one exchange, but he was already injured. This was completely beyond his expectations. We're not the only ones you've underestimated, Bai Shi said coldly. Hearing Bai Shi's words, Su Minglei's eyes widened. His face was filled with astonishment. You can actually speak human language? What's wrong with being able to speak human language? You're making a fuss over nothing. Xiao Hei looked mockingly at Su Minglei. Its expression was as if it was looking at a country bumpkin who had never seen the world. It was Su Minglei's first time being looked at with such disdain by a contracted beast. However, the situation in front of him made it impossible for him to remain calm. You can actually speak as well? As far as he knew, any contracted beast that could speak human language had already reached the level of transforming into a human. Could it be that the two contracted beasts that he had underestimated had already broken through to the Nebula Realm? How is this possible? Bailey Hongzhuang was a cultivator from the lower realm. Her contracted beasts were naturally brought up from the lower realm. Chapter 48-30. If she did not cultivate diligently after coming to the upper realm, she would not be able to deal with such strength. However, she was no longer at the same level as when she first came here. Even if they fought, she was not afraid. As soon as Su Yakin fought, she discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength wasn't any weaker than her own. Shock immediately appeared in her eyes. If her judgment was correct, Bailey Hongzhuang should be younger than her. However, her strength was on par with her. Her potential was terrifying. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang was an alchemist. She suddenly felt that Bailey Hongzhuang and Ouyang Jifeng were both abnormal. Such geniuses could not be judged with common sense. Others could not multitask as it was easy to waste their talent. However, when it came to them, it was not obvious, because multitasking did not affect them at all. You are also a 6-star light realm? Su Yakin could not help but ask, is there any meaning in talking about this between us? Bailey Hongzhuang asked back. However, her hands did not stop moving. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Su Yakin's expression changed slightly. Bailey Hongzhuang was really eloquent. Her words were irrefutable. Su Yakin subconsciously looked at Su Minglei. If Bailey Hongzhuang's strength was similar to hers, then their fight would not be settled in a short time. However, as long as Su Minglei settled the two contracted beasts, then her problem would be solved quickly. However, in the blink of an eye, she discovered that there were wounds on Su Minglei's face. Her eyes were immediately filled with shock. Her elder brother was injured by two contracted beasts? How is this possible? Her elder brother was only a step away from breaking through to the Nebula Realm. According to their judgment, Su Minglei could definitely break through to the Nebula Realm in the Immortal Cloud Secret Realm. However, Su Minglei was injured by two demonic beasts. How strong were the two contracted beasts? At first, Su Yakin only thought that she had seen wrongly. However, when she took a second look and saw that there were indeed scars on Su Minglei's face, she did not know what to say. How could Bailey Hongzhuang's contracted beast have such strength? An indescribable envy spread in Su Yakin's heart. If she could have such a powerful contracted beast, then her status would skyrocket. However, Bailey Hongzhuang didn't give her too much time to be shocked. She immediately attacked. Her idea was very simple. She wanted to end the battle quickly. She had already sensed that other cultivators were approaching. She had to end this battle as soon as possible. Otherwise, the situation would become even more troublesome. This was because she was unable to determine whether his appearance would be beneficial or detrimental to her. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attack, Su Yakin retreated step by step. She simply did not have the strength to take the initiative to attack Bailey Hongzhuang. Instead, she had been passively resisting. In the process of dodging, she was shocked to the extreme. If she hadn't seen it with her own eyes, she would have found it hard to believe that Bailey Hongzhuang's combat strength was actually so strong. Were cultivators from the lower realm really so powerful? Why was the situation so different from what they had imagined? Chapter 48-31. This discovery left her speechless. She couldn't imagine how Bailey Hongzhuang managed to nurture such a powerful contracted beast. Not to mention anything else, just Bailey Hongzhuang alone. With such a contract beast, the average cultivator would not be her opponent. As for the other contracted beast, although it wasn't as powerful as the larger contracted beast, it was also at the Starlight Realm. All of a sudden, she felt that her identity might have been reversed with Bailey Hongzhuang. She was the one who came from the lower realm. At the very least, she couldn't compare to Bailey Hongzhuang. Under such circumstances, it was impossible for Su Minglei to deal with these two contracted beasts quickly. On the contrary, he was restrained by the two contracted beasts. This was because he was already injured at the beginning, which affected his strength. Coupled with the fact that this larger contracted beast was not weaker than him, the result was obvious. After understanding Bailey Hongzhuang's true strength, Su Minglei and his sister started to regret their previous decision. If they knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had such strength, they wouldn't have chosen to fight her. They were frustrated. Why didn't Bailey Hongzhuang tell them about these two abnormal contracted beasts? Otherwise, they wouldn't have fallen into such a predicament. Bang! Bailey Hongzhuang's attack landed on Su Yakin's chest. Bang, bang, bang. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't stop after the attack. She continued to attack Su Yakin in the same place. Boom! Su Yakin's body flew backward and landed heavily on the ground. Puffed! Su Yakin spat out a mouthful of blood. She covered her chest with her hand, and her face turned pale. She thought that even if Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation was similar to hers, she wouldn't be Bailey Hongzhuang's match. However, she later found out that Bailey Hongzhuang's combat strength was much stronger than hers. Although she didn't want to admit it, she wasn't Bailey Hongzhuang's match at all. In front of Bailey Hongzhuang, she didn't even have the chance to fight back. After Su Minglei noticed Su Yakin's situation, a trace of horror appeared in his eyes. He knew his sister's strength. Her strength was considered good among cultivators of the same age, but she couldn't be compared to those abnormal cultivators. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was stronger than her. From the looks of it, Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't just a little stronger. Miss Bailey, let's talk. When Su Minglei saw Bailey Hongzhuang approaching Su Yakin, he hurriedly shouted out. Hearing him, Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at Su Minglei indifferently. Bailey Hongzhuang, what is there for us to talk? Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang. Su Minglei's TSS. Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang's he, Bailey Hongzhuang, Bailey Hongzhuang's, but Bailey Hongzhuang, he's Bailey Hongzhuang, Hongzhuang, TT Hongzhuang. No matter what, he couldn't let Su Yakin die in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. Bailey Hongzhuang laughed gently and raised her eyebrows. If I was the one who was at a disadvantage, would you show mercy? Silence. Su Minglei didn't know how to answer Bailey Hongzhuang's question. Chapter 48:32. This was because the D family was a colossus. If it were not for the fact that Bailey Hongzhuang had so many treasures on her, they would not have taken the risk of offending the D family by attacking her. Hence, once they had made their move, they had to eliminate the source of trouble. They could not give the D family any chance to take revenge. Lady Bailey, everything can be discussed. We will agree to any request you have. Su Minglei said anxiously. Su Yaqing looked at Bailey Hongzhuang nervously. She did not want to lose her life here. Lady Bailey, it was all our fault. Please be magnanimous and let us go. We will agree to any request you have. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly. My request is very simple. You can just die. She had always been the type of person who would not attack unless she was attacked first. If the other party had not intended to kill her, she would not have wanted to kill them. However, since the other party had wanted to take her life, she would not be kind either. Being merciful was not her style. As soon as she finished speaking, Bailey Hongzhuang attacked Su Yaqing directly. Su Minglei and Su Yakin's eyes flashed with disbelief when they saw Bailey Hongzhuang's decisive reaction. Bailey Hongzhuang had not even listened to their conditions and had directly rejected them. This kind of courage was not something an average person would have. Even if it was them, they would at least listen to everything before making a decision. But Bailey Hongzhuang was so decisive. Stop! Ding! A flying dagger flashed and blocked Bailey Hongzhuang's attack on Su Yakin. Then, a figure appeared in the line of sight of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Su Yakin and Su Minglei were pleasantly surprised when they saw this person appear. Jichao. Su Jichao quickly walked to Su Yakin's side and stared coldly at Bailey Hongzhuang. Miss Bailey, you don't have to be so heartless, do you? As he spoke, Su Jichao was also sizing up Bailey Hongzhuang. His heart was also filled with surprise. He was very clear about the strength of Su Minglei and Su Yakin. He did not expect that they would be at a disadvantage in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. This was really unbelievable. If he had not appeared just now, Su Yakin would have died in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but frown. She didn't expect the two from his Su family to be so lucky. You're the ones who took the initiative to look for trouble. Now you're putting this heartless name on my head. Aren't you too shameless? Su Jichao was slightly taken aback. After looking at Su Minglei's expression, he finally reacted. He didn't expect that the first to make a move would be their people. Instantly, his expression became a little awkward. Su Yakin rose to her feet with Su Jichao's help. Her eyes were icy cold and filled with murderous intent. Why do you care so much about her? Attack! Previously, she and Su Minglei were no match for Bailey Hongzhuang. Now that Su Jichao has joined the battle, they could defeat Bailey Hongzhuang. Su Minglei's gaze changed as well. Indeed, this was a great opportunity. Master, these fellows are too shameless. The speed at which they change their faces is truly astonishing. Xiaohei's eyes were filled with disgust as she stared at them. Her reaction would change at the slightest change. Chapter 48:33. Baishur appeared to be calmer. It already knew what kind of trash these fellows were. These two contracted beasts can talk. Su Jichao could not help but be dumbfounded when he heard Baishur and Xiaohei's conversation. His reaction was exactly the same as Su Minglei's. At this moment, he finally understood why Su Minglei and Baishur were no match for Bailey Hongzhuang. It was because these two contracted beasts were terrifyingly powerful as well. Su Minglei nodded. These two contracted beasts are not to be trifled with. Su Jichao and Su Minglei were very familiar with each other. Just by looking at Su Minglei's expression, Su Jichao could guess what had happened. However, none of this was important. He also knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had treasures on her. As long as he could obtain these treasures, he would be able to reap considerable benefits. He made his decision without hesitation at the thought of this. Master, what should we do now? Xiaohei had a complicated look on her face. They were already in an advantageous position. Now that Su Jieqiao has arrived, the situation has changed. At most, we'll cripple them all. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were icy cold. She had never been one to be afraid of trouble. Since the other party had come knocking on her door, she naturally would not be afraid. However, before we do that, we have to see if the person behind us is a friend or foe. Hearing this, Xiaohei was shocked. Are there other cultivators? That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. Previously, she had sensed two auras approaching from different directions. In order to prevent the previous incident from happening again, she had to clarify the situation. Attack. Su Yakin clearly did not notice the situation and was about to attack. However, Su Minglei stopped her and stared into the distance with a complicated look in his eyes. Someone else is coming. It seems that I've arrived at the right time. A clear and refreshing voice rang out. Then, a man in a blue robe slowly appeared in everyone's line of sight. When she saw the man, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with shock. She was no stranger to this man. It was Ouyang Jifeng. Ouyang Jifeng? Su Minglei and the other two couldn't help but frown when they saw that it was Ouyang Jifeng. They didn't have any relationship with the Ouyang clan. That's right, it's me. Ouyang Jifeng smiled and nodded. This matter has nothing to do with you. Su Minglei said slowly, if you're willing to leave. Before Su Minglei could finish his words, Ouyang Jifeng had already reached out to stop him. You're wrong. This matter is related to me. As he spoke, Ouyang Jifeng stood beside Bailey Hongzhuang under the surprised gazes of Su Minglei and the others. Miss Bailey is my friend. The three of you are ganging up on her. I can't stand it anymore. Ouyang Jifeng smiled and raised his eyebrows at Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't expect us to be so fated. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Indeed, she didn't expect the person to be Ouyang Jifeng. She thought that she was going to start a massacre. However, now that Ouyang Jifeng was here, she naturally couldn't make the same plans as before. When Su Minglei and the other two heard Ouyang Jifeng's words, their faces turned ugly. They really didn't expect these two to be friends. Chapter 48-34. Ouyang Jifeng, are you really going to interfere in this matter? Su Minglei looked at Ouyang Jifeng with an ugly expression. Originally, they were in an advantageous position and victory was already in their hands. However, once Ouyang Jifeng joined in, the situation would be completely ruined. Most importantly, Ouyang Jifeng was the top genius of the Ouyang clan. It was said that his cultivation had already broken through to the Nebula realm. Once he joined in, Bailey Hongzhuang would gain the greatest advantage. I think I've already expressed myself very clearly. Ouyang Jifeng's expression was calm, and his attitude did not change at all. Seeing this, Su Minglei and the other two looked at each other. It seemed that they had really made a wrong decision. Once Bailey Hongzhuang left, the D-Clan's disciples would know that they had attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. It would be unavoidable for them to be in trouble. All right, you win. Let's go. Su Minglei looked deeply at Bailey Hongzhuang and Ouyang Jifeng and made the decision to leave. Hearing this, although Su Yaqing was a little unwilling, she knew that leaving now was the best outcome. Otherwise, once Bailey Hongzhuang and Ouyang Jifeng joined forces, their situation would be really bad. Miss Bailey, do you want to fight? Ouyang Jifeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. If you want to fight, I can help. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. No need. Thank you for today. She and Ouyang Jifeng met at the alchemy competition. Because they were both very good at alchemy, the two of them became friends because of this. However, later on, Ouyang Jifeng was in seclusion, so the two of them did not contact each other. In fact, she was also a little surprised that Ouyang Jifeng would stand on her side. She understood that Ouyang Jifeng was not the least bit unhappy that she had stolen his limelight at the alchemy competition. On the contrary, he was somewhat sympathetic. Miss Bailey is too polite. I think that even if I didn't appear, you wouldn't be afraid. If my appearance has affected you, then I'm sorry. Ouyang Jifeng's eyes glinted with wisdom. Originally, when he noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's situation, he felt that she would be in danger, so he directly appeared. However, when he got closer, he realized that even though Su Minglei and the other two had an obvious advantage, Bailey Hongzhuang did not show the slightest bit of fear. He could tell that she was not putting up a strong front, but was truly not afraid. Therefore, he believed that even if he did not appear, Bailey Hongzhuang would still be safe and sound. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Young Master Ouyang, I'm very grateful that you're willing to help. How can I apologize? I'm relieved that Miss Bailey doesn't blame me, Ouyang Jifeng said with a smile. Ouyang Jifeng's gaze swept across the herb field, and he smiled. Looks like Miss Bailey's harvest today is not small. It's all right, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. I've obtained some spiritual herbs. Does young Master Ouyang need them? No need. Ouyang Jifeng waved his hand. This immortal cloud mystery realm is a good place for spiritual herbs to grow. There are many other places that have them. These are your harvest, so keep them for yourself. However, you must be careful not to be targeted by others. Most of the people here only look at benefits. I understand. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. This situation was within her expectations. Everyone was here to fight for resources, and no one was a kind person. Situations where people killed each other for resources were common. Chapter 48-35. Nope. Ouyang Jifeng shook his head. I've only met anyone on my way here. I didn't expect this place to be so lively. If you're looking for a member of the D family, you should continue looking further ahead. The deeper you go, the more likely you'll meet them. When we first entered, we were all scattered around the outskirts of the divine cloud mystic realm. Everyone would be closer to the inner regions. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang also understood. So that's how it is. Miss Bailey, I'll take my leave first. Since I've entered, I should look for my own opportunities, Ouyang Jifeng said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang cupped her hands. We'll meet again if fate wills it. Take care. With that, Ouyang Jifeng did not stay any longer and left in one direction. Looking at Ouyang Jifeng's departing figure, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips slowly curled into a faint smile. Ever since she had gone to Water Praying City, she had met many members of the aristocratic families. Ouyang Jifeng had left the best impression on her. Not only was he exceptionally talented, hard-working, and determined, he also had a broad heart. If it had been anyone else, they would have been unhappy that she had stolen their limelight. However, Ouyang Jifeng had never thought this way. On the contrary, he had placed most of his attention on himself, searching for his own shortcomings. A person like this would definitely achieve great things. Master, I thought that Ouyang Jifeng would travel with you. Baisher's voice slowly rang out. I thought so too. Xiao Hei's face was filled with astonishment. Although I know him, we're not that close. Traveling together rashly is actually a test. Since that's the case, it's better for us to travel separately. Her deep almond-shaped eyes flashed with wisdom. If I'm not wrong, he should know that I have other things to do. With that said, Xiao Hei and Baisher could not help but look at each other, their faces filled with confusion. Master, what do you mean by that? What other things do we have to do? Are you going to let those three guys go just like that? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. Of course not. No. Xiao Hei and Baisher did not hesitate to express their stance. If it was an ordinary conflict, it would have been fine. However, Su Minglei and the other two were simply too detestable. A cold glint flashed in Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes. The other party was determined to kill her. She would not let such a person live and bring danger to herself. She was very clear about her current attractiveness to others. If Su Minglei and the other two were to publicize it, it would be very troublesome. From what happened just now, she already understood the characters of these three people. Once they ran away, trouble would be inevitable. Master, are you planning to chase after them? Xiao Hei asked. But they've already traveled quite a distance. I'm afraid it won't be easy for us to catch up to them. Although they had not spent much time conversing with Ouyang Jifeng, Cultivators moved very quickly. Furthermore, they were not sure which direction the other party had left in. It would not be easy to catch up to them. I've already left a mark on Su Yaqing's body. I know where she is. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled. She had been worried that the other party would ruin the situation, so she had left a mark to prevent them from escaping. Impressive. Chapter 48-36. After Su Minglei and the other two decided to leave, they left as fast as they could. Bailey Hongzhuang's previous display of decisiveness had shocked them. If Bailey Hongzhuang changed her mind and dragged Ouyang Jifeng along to deal with them, it would be really troublesome. Therefore, the three of them left as fast as they could. I don't know if Bailey Hongzhuang will chase after us. Our previous judgment was really wrong. Su Minglei couldn't help but sigh. He thought that it was foolproof, but he didn't expect the other party to be stronger than them. Su Yaqing nodded. Fortunately, Jie Chao came. Otherwise, I would have lost my life. I really didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to deal with the two of you. It seems that everyone has underestimated her. Su Jiachao wasn't clear about what had happened before, but he could roughly guess in his heart. That's right. Previously, everyone thought that Di Beichen came from the lower realm and couldn't possibly be the head of the Di family. However, based on the current situation, even if he didn't stay in the Di family all these years, his results are not worse than those who stayed in the aristocratic families. Su Minglei's eyes were filled with regret. If we knew the situation would be like this, we wouldn't have attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. Previously, when Xiao Sou and Bailey Hongzhuang had a conflict, you saw how Di Beichun protected her. If he knows that we wanted to kill Bailey Hongzhuang, I'm afraid he won't let us go. It was precisely because of this that he had considered it before, but in the end he still made this plan. Sigh. Su Jiachao sighed. There's no other way. Who would have thought that she would hide so deeply? However, we have to be more careful from now on. It's best to find the other members of the family as soon as possible. As long as they are stronger than Bailey Hongzhuang and Ouyang Jifeng, then we don't have to worry. Su Yaqing said, All right, let's check if there are any marks on our bodies first. Su Minglei reminded. At their level of cultivation, it was very easy to leave a mark on the other party's body. If they didn't remove the mark, the other party would be able to know where they were at any time, which would undoubtedly be extremely troublesome. Hearing Su Minglei's reminder, Su Yaqing and Su Jiachao were startled and hurriedly checked their bodies. I didn't leave any marks. Su Yaqing checked herself and felt relieved. That's good. Su Minglei nodded. I think she didn't expect something like this to happen, so she didn't have time to leave a mark. Maybe the cultivators of the lower realms don't have the habit of leaving marks. Su Jiachao smiled. There are still some differences after all. Bailey Hongzhuang followed the marks she left and chased forward. Since she had made a decision, she had to solve this problem as soon as possible to avoid more trouble. Master, will they discover the mark you left behind? White Lion asked worriedly. Bailey Hongzhuang thought about it and shook her head. They shouldn't have discovered it yet. Otherwise, they would have erased the mark directly. The method she used to leave the mark was rather special and belonged to the previous method. According to her judgment, Su Yaqing shouldn't be able to detect it. Even if the other party detected it, it would be very difficult to remove it. Chapter 48-37. Su Yaqing has been severely injured by me, and her powers are no longer as strong as before. We can basically ignore her. She had not held back when she had dealt with Su Yaqing. Even though Su Yaqing had been saved in the end, her injuries were not light, and she would not be able to recover in a short period of time. When we meet later, I'll poison her directly. Based on her current state, I'm afraid that she won't be immune to it. Her ink-black phoenix-like eyes flickered with a thoughtful light. Others were not aware of her identity as a poison master, so naturally, they would not be on their guard. At her level of cultivation, it would not be an easy task to poison someone to death. A cultivator's own defensive powers were already very strong. However, if the other party was injured, it would not be so easy to resist such a poison. In her heart, as long as she could catch up to the other party, Su Yaqing would become a dead woman. If it's only Su Minglei and Su Jichao, we can give it a try, Baisher said. We don't know how powerful Su Jiechao, who had appeared later, is. Because he has not made a move, we can't tell. Xiaohei looked troubled. This was one of the problems that they needed to pay attention to. Let's go and take a look first. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm. She did not think much of these problems. If the other party's powers were not much stronger than hers, she would treat it as practice. Besides, she has been lacking the opportunity to practice recently. Bailey Hongzhuang sensed that Su Yaqing and the others were getting closer and closer to them as the woman and the two beasts chased after them. Finally, she caught sight of them. "You're here." Su Yaqing and Su Jiechao were shocked when they heard the sudden voice. They stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" "Naturally, we're chasing after you." Bailey Hongzhuang replied calmly. How? How could this be?" Su Yaqing's face was filled with terror. She had clearly checked her body carefully and found no trace of Bailey Hongzhuang's mark. How could they have found her? Bailey Hongzhuang ignored Su Yaqing's shock. She frowned as she stared at the two people in front of her. She did not know why, but she could not see Su Minglei. Where did Su Minglei go? Su Yaqing and Su Jiechao looked at each other, but didn't say anything. "Bailey Hongzhuang, we've already talked about our grievances before. Why are you chasing after me now?" Su Yaqing forced herself to remain calm. Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows. "I don't think I said that the feud between us is over. Miss Bailey, although I'm not too sure about what happened earlier, since it has come to this, let's just let it go." Su Jiechao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. "If this continues, it won't do anyone any good. I can guarantee that we won't say anything after we leave." "I don't believe you." Her elegant face was indifferent and her eyes were calm. It was obvious that no matter what the other party said, she would not change her mind. Su Jiechao and Su Yaqing's expressions turned ugly when they heard this. "Do it," Bailey Hongzhuang said coldly. Even though she did not know why Su Minglei was not here, this was quite beneficial to her. This way, they could first deal with the two people in front of them before looking for Su Minglei. Xiaohei and Baisher charged forward without hesitation when they heard Bailey Hongzhuang's orders. Chapter 48-38. Su Yaqing was still unaware of what had happened. She only felt a sudden pain in her body, and Bailey Hongzhuang's attack was about to hit her. She had no time to think. Just as she was about to block the attack, she realized that Bailey Hongzhuang had completely ignored her and had turned to attack Su Jiechao instead. When she saw this, she could not help but be shocked. She could not understand why. However, she soon understood because she felt a sharp pain coming from her body. Following her careful examination, she realized that she had been poisoned. She thought about it and realized that the piercing pain from before had been caused by poisoning. "You've poisoned me?" Su Yaqing stared at Bailey Hongzhuang in shock. She never thought that the other party would use such a method. However, in the face of Su Yaqing's shock, Bailey Hongzhuang could not even be bothered to reply. Besides, the other party was about to die, so there was no point in speaking. Su Jiechao was completely shocked when he saw Su Yaqing fall. However, he did not have a time to feel sad over Su Yaqing's death, because under the attack of Bailey Hongzhuang and the two contract beasts, he did not have the slightest strength to fight back. The injuries on his body continued to increase, and he did not even have the chance to escape. "Bailey Hongzhuang, why must you be so ruthless?" Su Jiechao glared angrily at Bailey Hongzhuang. "We clearly have no grudge against each other. This matter indeed has nothing to do with you. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame yourself for appearing at the wrong time." Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. The first to make the wrong decision had been Su Minglei and Su Yaqing. This had nothing to do with Su Jiechao, but since they were already together, they must have understood what had happened. If she were to let Su Jiechao go, he would definitely cause trouble for her. That was not what she wanted to see. Baisher was enough to deal with Su Jiechao. With the addition of Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiaohei, the result was obvious. In a short period of time, Su Jiechao no longer had the power to retaliate. "Where did Su Minglei go?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked. "I won't tell you." Su Jiechao gritted his teeth as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. His heart was filled with complex emotions. Previously, because Su Yaching was injured, it was not good for her to travel all the time, so they rested for a short time. While they were resting, Su Minglei had talked to him and thought that the two of them should leave first. This was the safest way. At that time, he didn't understand why Su Minglei had decided to abandon Su Yaching, and had even argued with Su Minglei about it. In the end, Su Minglei decided to leave on his own, and he didn't stop him. However, he did not expect that Su Minglei's judgment was actually correct. Bailey Hongzhuang had really found her. It's fine if you don't want to talk about it. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced coldly at Su Jieqiao, and the sharp blade in her hand slashed across. Clean and tidy. Master, if you kill him just like that, doesn't that mean we won't be able to find Su Minglei? Xiaohei looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in confusion. Perhaps Su Minglei was somewhere nearby. He won't talk. Bailey Hongzhuang slowly replied. Even if I use other methods to force him to talk, I'm afraid that he won't be able to give us a specific location. The Divine Cloud Mystic Realm was not a place they were familiar with. No one knew where they would end up if they continued to walk forward. Even if Su Jieqiao had casually made up a lie, she wouldn't be able to tell if it was true or false. Chapter 48-39. Since that was the case, she might as well search for him herself. Upon hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Bai Shi and Xiaohei looked at each other. They were beginning to feel that their master was very smart and quick-witted. If my guess is correct, Su Minglei is a smart man. He must have predicted that I would come looking for him, so he ran away first. A complicated light flashed across Bailey Hongzhuang's bright eyes. She sighed inwardly. She never thought that she would be one step too late. Isn't his behavior a little too disloyal? He would actually abandon his own family members just like that. Xiaohei was speechless. His behavior was truly contemptible. However, aside from this explanation, there seemed to be no other possibility. Even though he's disloyal, it's undeniable that he's very smart, Bai Shi said. If he had stayed behind, he would be dead by now. Bailey Hongzhuang took Su Jieqiao and Su Yaching's storage rings in her hands, and with a casual swipe, she erased the imprint on them. She flipped through the rings and realized that there were many treasures inside. However, she did not look at them for long before putting them away. There are indeed many treasures in the storage rings of the disciples of aristocratic families. However, there aren't any particularly important items in the family. Clearly, they knew that they could perish here, so they did not bring any of their family's martial techniques or cultivation techniques with them. Nothing was more precious than a family's inheritance. However, these storage rings clearly did not contain it, so there was no need to examine them carefully. Master, should we go look for Su Minglei now? Xiaohei's heart sank. If Su Minglei had run away just like that, she would not feel too good about it. Let's go our own way. There's no need to go out of our way to look for him. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was mild and calm. He must have deliberately changed his direction in order to avoid us. It won't be easy to find him. Previously, she had not exchanged blows with Su Minglei, so she had not left a mark on his body. She never thought that he would be so smart to have made such a prompt decision to abandon his own family. However, she believed that they would meet again sooner or later. Sigh, what a pity. Xiaohei sighed. That fellow is so annoying. After the cultivators from a Jun family and the Ao family entered the Divine Cloud's secret realm, they immediately began to search for Ao Lingxiao. They had already received orders to deal with Ao Lingxiao as soon as they saw him. Although there were quite a number of people from the Di family and the Lin family, they had to try their luck in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. No one knew which side they would meet first. Once they met, they would be able to solve a huge problem. Therefore, what they cared about the most was not finding resources, but finding Ao Lingxiao. At the same time, the Di family and the Lin family were also searching for them. Di Beichun walked alone in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. He had already been here for a few days, but he had yet to meet a single person. Master, the area inside seems to be too big. We haven't met anyone else yet. Xiaobai looked helpless. Although she had already guessed that the area of the Immortal Cloud's secret realm was not small, it was only after entering that she found out that it was actually this big. Indeed, Di Beichun's eyes darkened. I wonder how Hong Zhuang is doing now. He was most worried about Hong Zhuang. Although he knew that his wife would not be in any danger with the white dragon around, he could not help but worry. After all, the Jun family and the Lin family viewed them as a thorn in their side. Chapter 4840. Looking at Di Beichen's worried expression, Xiaobai comforted him. Master, don't worry. With White Lion, Xiao He, and White Dragon protecting her, Mistress will definitely not be in danger. Originally, Bailey Hongzhuang was Xiao Bai's master, but later on, its master became Di Beichen. After thinking about it, Xiao Bai changed the way it addressed Bailey Hongzhuang to mistress. Not only that, but it was also very satisfied with the way it addressed her. In its opinion, no one would be able to think of a more suitable way to address her. That's right, master. Don't worry. Xiao Xuanzi flew beside Di Beichen. Mistress will definitely be safe. Di Beichen nodded slightly. He also understood this, but he could not help but feel a little worried. I feel that this divine cloud mystery realm is simply a maze. After entering, we haven't met anything at all. It would be good even if we met another cultivator. Xiaobai sighed. If they could meet another cultivator, at least it would be able to roughly guess the area of this place. However, since entering, they were like headless flies. If they did not have a direction to leave in, they would not be able to differentiate between north, south, east, and west. It should be soon. Di Beichen pondered. Although he also knew that the Divine Cloud Mystery Realm was not small, it was already very rare for them to not meet another person for so many days. The possibility of them not meeting another person after this was very small. Master, look over there. There seems to be a medicinal field. Xiao Xuanzi had been flying in midair all this time, so naturally it could see further. In its line of sight, it had clearly noticed the existence of a medicinal field. Hearing Xiao Xuanzi's words, Di Beichen and Xiao Bai's eyes lit up. After wandering around here for so many days, if they came across a medicinal field, it would be a good harvest. I heard that there are many spiritual herbs in the Divine Cloud Mystery Realm. If we come across a medicinal field, then we can pick more spiritual herbs for Mistress. Xiao Bai's eyes sparkled with excitement. As an alchemist, Bailey Hongzhuang needed spiritual herbs very much. If he wanted to improve his alchemy skills, he would need a lot of spiritual herbs to practice. Although the Di family had a large business, it wasn't easy to get some precious herbs. What's more, there were still a few alchemists in the family. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally couldn't use them casually. Even if she could, she would still feel a little embarrassed. If they could obtain a lot of spiritual grasses here, it would be even better. Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint smile as he quickened his pace. Let's go take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang continued to move forward after dealing with Su Yaqing and Su Minglei. Although Su Minglei's escape was not good news, she did not take it to heart. Many people knew that she had the pill formula for the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. So what? She had already mentally prepared herself. As for the spiritual herbs, although they were treasures, not everyone would be as greedy as Su Minglei and the others. They would offend her because of these. Once Su Minglei spread the news, she would also spread the news that Su Minglei had treasures on him. It was still unknown who would die more miserably. Since Su Minglei was a smart person, he would probably make a good judgment on this matter. Just as they were approaching, Bailey Hongzhuang's brows furrowed slightly as a trace of astonishment appeared in her eyes. Chapter 4841. The stone is reacting. Bailey Hongzhuang exclaimed in surprise. Stone! Xiao He was stunned. Clearly, she had not realized what kind of stone it was. Bai Shi, on the other hand, reacted immediately. Master, are you talking about the stone that you had obtained in the Penglai Palace? Based on what he had learned, his master had only obtained this mysterious stone. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. That's right, it's that stone. Xiao He immediately recalled Bai Shi's reminder. Back in the Penglai Palace, Bailey Hongzhuang had concocted a medicine that could heal dark-type injuries. As a reward, the palace master had promised her that she could choose a treasure of her choice. At the time, Bailey Hongzhuang had chosen such a stone. At the time, They had all felt that it was strange because this stone was pitch black and did not seem to have much value. Later on, Bailey Hongzhuang had studied it carefully. When she realized that she had not gained much from it, she had placed it in the Chaos Ring. However, she had not expected that this stone would react after entering the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm. Master, how did it react? Baisher looked curiously at Bailey Hongzhuang. His master's taste was not bad at all. Back then, no one had known the use of this stone. However, his master had still chosen it. Now, it seems that she had made a good choice, because this stone was an item from the upper realm. Bailey Hongzhuang took out the black stone. The pitch-black stone was now emitting a faint glow. Bailey Hongzhuang could clearly sense that this stone was guiding her in a certain direction. Seeing the change in the stone, Xiaohei and Baisher looked at each other and sighed in their hearts. It's no wonder that back in the lower realm, no one had known the use of this stone. Xiaohei immediately understood. This was originally an item from the upper realm. How could anyone have discovered its use in the lower realm? Baisher nodded. However, I never thought that an item related to this stone would be in the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm. What a coincidence. If we hadn't come here, we probably wouldn't have known the use of this stone. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly. When she first saw this stone, she had a strange feeling. She always felt that there was fate between them. It was because of this that she gave up on the other treasures and chose this one without hesitation. From this, it could be seen that feelings were also extremely important. Let's follow the direction the stone is pointing to. At the first moment, Bailey Hongzhuang had already made a decision. Since the stone had fallen into her hands, it meant that it was fated to be with her. Immediately after, the man and the two beasts rushed in the direction indicated by the stone. However, the area of the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm was extremely large. Even if they traveled at full speed, they would still not be able to reach it in a short period of time. During the journey, Bailey Hongzhuang also met other cultivators. The other cultivators were the same as her. They were all alone. After the two sides met, because they were not familiar with each other, they did not talk. Instead, they scattered far away. Clearly, they did not wish for any conflict to break out between them. That night, Bailey Hongzhuang leaned against a large tree to rest while Baisher was responsible for keeping watch. Even though the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm was a small world, everything here was no different from the forest in the outside world. Chapter 48-42. This Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm is really mysterious. Previously, when I heard that we would be leaving this place, I thought that there would be some powerful demonic beasts. I didn't expect that there would be nothing after we entered. I was worried for nothing. Xiaohei smiled and sighed. In the past, they would always encounter all kinds of dangers when they were training. Not only did they have to guard against the sneak attacks of other cultivators, they also had to be prepared to deal with the attacks of demonic beasts. This time, when they entered this place, they were also prepared to fight at any time. Who would have thought that after 10 days in this place, other than the time when they met Su Minglei and the others, everything else had been peaceful? Are you used to being tortured? White Lion looked at Xiaohei mockingly. Now that I've asked you to be a little more peaceful, you still feel that something is wrong? Xiaohei rolled her eyes. I'm not a masochist. I just feel that this situation is a little different from what I imagined. Perhaps this is the difference between the training in the upper realm and the lower realm. White Lion pondered and said, however, it seems that the training in the upper realm is not as cruel as the lower realm. At least from its point of view, the dangers here were much less than what they had encountered in the past. Master, why aren't you saying anything? Xiaohei and White Lion were chatting enthusiastically when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had remained silent and could not help but ask. I'm thinking about the problem that you've mentioned. Bailey Hongzhuang supported her chin with her right hand as a thoughtful look flashed across her beautiful eyes. She had been very confused about this point. However, after so many days in this place, they had not encountered any danger. Could it be that the Immortal Cloud Mystic Realm was really that simple? I still feel that it shouldn't be that simple. Bailey Hongzhuang pondered and said, even if the upper realm is different from the lower realm, their training can't be without danger. Previously, When they were in the D family, the elder did not explain much about the situation in the immortal cloud mystic realm. He only said that this place was very suitable for the growth of spiritual herbs. According to her judgment, the situation in the immortal cloud mystic realm was probably not exactly the same. Hence, there was no way to explain it. This situation was not impossible. I think so too. White Lion nodded with a complicated look in his eyes. Although the journey has been peaceful, I have a strange feeling in my heart. You feel the same way? That's right. White Lion replied with certainty. Since even you think so, there must be something wrong with this. Bailey Hongzhuang had a serious look on her face. All along, Baisher's senses had been very sharp. If she was the only one who felt this way, it might be an illusion. Since she and White Lion felt this way, it might be true. But what kind of danger could there be? Xiaohe looked puzzled. Judging from the situation in the vicinity, she really couldn't think of anything. Bailey Hongzhuang took a deep breath and said, I can't tell at the moment, but we can't relax too much. If there really is a problem, we can deal with it in time. In the blink of an eye, a night had passed. The next day, Bailey Hongzhuang and the two beasts continued their journey. She could vaguely sense that the item related to the black stone was somewhere far away. At the very least, they wouldn't be able to reach it in a short period of time. After understanding this, Bailey Hongzhuang was not too anxious. Chapter 48-43. 3 days later, Bailey Hongzhuang had been moving in the direction that the stone had sensed. On this day, after traveling for some time, she sensed the presence of cultivators in front of her. It was not just one person, but a group of people. Upon discovering this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiaohe and said, Go and find out what's going on. Xiaohe was undoubtedly the most suitable person to scout for information. It was extremely small and possessed a certain level of ability to hide its aura. As long as the other party did not look carefully, they would not be able to discover Xiaohe. Xiaohe immediately nodded. I'll go right away. After Xiaohe's figure disappeared, Bailey Hongzhuang and Baisher also hid themselves. I hope we'll run into Di Beichun and the others. Baisher's eyes were filled with anticipation. Throughout their journey, they had hoped to run into Di Beichun and the others as soon as possible. Even if they did not run into Di Beichun, it would be great if they could run into cultivators from the Di family or the Lin family. However, they had not run into them at all. They felt rather helpless. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded gently. I hope so. Just as they were waiting, they realized that Xiaohe had not returned after a long time. Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but frown. Something did not seem right. Master, Xiaohe usually gathers information very quickly. However, it has not returned after such a long time. This does not fit its usual style. Baisher had been hanging out with Xiaohe ever since it was born. From the time it had been bullied by Xiaohe to now, when it was bullying Xiaohe. The two beasts were very familiar with each other. This was definitely not in line with Xiaohe's personality. Something must have gone wrong. Let's go and take a look. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes darkened. We have to be careful. Since this had happened, the other party must be an enemy and not a friend. Although she did not want to believe it, Xiaohe had not returned for so long. She must have been discovered by the other party. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang and Baisher quickened their pace and quickly rushed forward. As they got closer, they were able to clearly see the situation in front of them. But when she saw it, Bailey Hongzhuang's face turned cold. In her line of sight, Jun Lingxuan, Jun Shitao, and Xiao Sou were all present. There was also another person that Bailey Hongzhuang found familiar, Su Minglei. At this moment, Xiaohe was being tied up and stepped on by Jun Lingxuan with a rope. Upon closer inspection, one would realize that it was not an ordinary rope. The rope was full of barbs. Once it fell on the body, it would definitely be dripping with blood. It would be an extremely painful thing to remove it. At this moment, blood was flowing out of Xiaohe's body, dyeing the ground red. Xiaohe. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. Previously, when Xiaohe had not returned, she had guessed that Xiaohe had been held hostage. However, she never thought that the other party would treat Xiaohe in this manner. Master, I'm sorry. Xiaohe's eyes were filled with shame. She never thought that the other party would discover her after she had approached them. Clearly, the other party had a treasure that could detect nearby auras. Hence, she had been discovered the moment she had approached them. Once she had been discovered, she had wanted to leave immediately. However, these fellows seemed to be well prepared, and she had not been able to free herself. In the end, she had ended up in this state. Xiaohei, we will definitely save you. Bai Shi's eyes burned with a raging fire. He could not control the rage in his heart when he saw how Xiaohei had been treated. Bailey Hongzhuang, you've really come. Chapter 48-44. Let go of Xiaohei. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was icy cold. Her dark eyes were like a frozen lake in October as she stared fixedly at Jun Lingxuan as if she could freeze everything into ice. Xiaohei. Jun Lingxuan raised an eyebrow and increased the force of his foot on Xiaohei. Are you talking about this furball? As Jun Lingxuan increased the strength of his foot, the barbs on the rope pierced even deeper into Blackie's body. Blackie couldn't help but let out a muffled groan as bright red blood rapidly flowed out. Stop it, Bailey Hongzhuang roared. Her eyes were deep and cold. Why should I stop it? Jun Lingxuan laughed mockingly as he stared mockingly at Bailey Hongzhuang. His voice was frivolous and playful. Why don't you kneel down and beg me? That's right, if you kneel down and beg us, perhaps we'll be in a good mood and let it go. Jun Zitao's face was full of smiles, but a trace of resentment appeared in the depths of his eyes. Weren't you very arrogant during the pill refining competition? Why aren't you arrogant now? I said let go. A shocking murderous aura emanated from Bailey Hongzhuang's pitch-black eyes. The temperature around Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to drop to the freezing point in an instant as a domineering and powerful aura exploded from her body. Noticing the change in Bailey Hongzhuang's aura, Jun Lingxuan and the others felt their hearts tremble. They had never seen Bailey Hongzhuang like this before. The murderous intent in her eyes was almost tangible. Even though they knew that they held the absolute advantage, they could not help but feel intimidated when faced with Bailey Hongzhuang's current state. Xiao Sou's eyes flashed with deep shock when she saw Bailey Hongzhuang's current state. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would be able to emit such an aura. It was truly shocking. It's just a contracted beast. I didn't expect you to care so much about it. It's not just a contracted beast. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold. To her, Xiaohei was not just a contracted beast, but also her family. She was a transmigrator. From the day she was reborn, she had been alone. However, Xiaohei and Xiaobai had always been by her side. They knew everything about her and were loyal to her. With their companionship, she never felt lonely. However, these damn bastards are now treating Xiaohei in such a manner. She cannot tolerate this. Although Xiao Sou was surprised by Bailey Hongzhuang's reaction, this was exactly what she wanted to see. Bailey Hongzhuang, when you had acted so arrogantly in front of me in the past, did you not think that you would one day be under my control? A complacent smile bloomed on Xiao Sou's lips. She had always wanted to see Bailey Hongzhuang in agony. The more Bailey Hongzhuang was in pain, the happier she would be. I've never paid any attention to those who have lost to me. Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold, and her exquisite and beautiful face showed no signs of fear. At the same time, she was communicating with a white dragon in her heart. White dragon, are you confident if you attack? She could see that Xiaohei was in a terrible state. That strange rope seemed to be able to injure her core. If it was only a flesh wound, Xiaohei would not be so dispirited. Hence, she could not afford to waste too much time here. She must rescue Xiaohei as soon as possible. Based on her and Bai Shi's powers, they should be able to deal with the other two. She would have to leave the other two to Bai Shi. Hongzhuang, you must think this through. Other cultivators could appear at any time. Chapter 48-45. We can't care about that now. The most important thing right now is to rescue Xiaohei. Bailey Hongzhuang's gloomy black eyes were like a deep abyss, hiding a power that could devour everything. At this moment, she was in no mood to care about anything else. All she wanted was for Xiaohei to be safe, and for these damned fellows to pay the price. She would never let anyone who had hurt anyone she cares about get away with it. What more her closest kin? Since you've made your decision, very well, I'll make my move. The white dragon did not hesitate. It knows that Bailey Hongzhuang has made all the necessary preparations in her heart. However, just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to attack with the white dragon's anxious voice suddenly rang out. Wait, what is it? Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her brows. She does not wish for any problems to arise at a time like this. I sense another aura from Jun Lingxuan's body. I'm afraid that there's another powerful existence by his side. The white dragon's voice sank. This situation has clearly exceeded their expectations. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart turned cold. If Jun Lingxuan really does have such a powerful existence by his side, their current situation would be very dire indeed. At the very least, it would be very difficult for them to rescue Xiao He. Based on your judgment, what should we do? Even though she was worried about Xiao He's safety, Bailey Hongzhuang did not lose her sense of propriety. She understands that the more dangerous the situation, the more she needs to remain calm. I can only sense that the aura is not weak, but I can't determine its actual power. The best situation now is for me to not make an appearance. Once I do, that aura will appear as well. It won't help with the current situation. On the contrary, you'll expose the secret of the Chaos Ring. The white dragon's voice was filled with mixed emotions. It never thought that Jun Lingxuan would have such a powerful ally. However, based on the current situation, what it had said was the best way to deal with it. This news was no different from a nightmare to Bailey Hongzhuang. If the white dragon could not lend a hand, then she and the white lion would naturally not be a match for the four of them. It would be even more difficult to rescue Xiao He. Xiao Sou's face turned ashen when she heard Bailey Hongzhuang's contemptuous words. She didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so unyielding at this moment. The most despicable thing was that the other party's words reminded her of the time when she was in the underground market. Bailey Hongzhuang had also treated her like a loser. She was the dignified young miss of a Xiao clan, yet she was actually looked down upon by someone from the lower realms. One could imagine the fury in her heart. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't be too arrogant. Xiao Sou gritted her teeth and glared at her coldly, as if she wanted to tear her into pieces. You have to think carefully. Even if that contracted beast has reached the peak of the Starlight Realm, you are still no match for us. Do you want to see your contracted beast die in front of you with your own eyes? Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned to Su Minglei. If she only felt disgust towards Su Minglei before, then at this moment, she couldn't wait to tear him into pieces. She regretted letting Su Minglei escape the most. If not for that, he wouldn't have fallen into such a predicament. Facing Bailey Hongzhuang's sharp eyes, Su Minglei couldn't help but shiver. However, he didn't retreat because of this. Chapter 48-46. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were like black vortexes as she looked coldly at Su Minglei. Didn't you already know the outcome from the moment you gave up on them? Are you putting on an act now when you display such a caring appearance? If Su Minglei was slightly unperturbed, then perhaps you would think slightly more highly of him. But after he'd clearly made such a heartless decision, he revealed such a caring appearance now, and that was slightly laughable. Along with Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Jun Lingxuan's group of three couldn't help but look at Su Minglei. Even though the decision Su Minglei made earlier wasn't a big deal to them, their own lives were the most important after all, and selfishness was human nature. But at this moment, along with Bailey Hongzhuang's words, they felt it was rather reasonable. A true villain wasn't so detestable, and it was a hypocrite that was detestable. A trace of embarrassment appeared on Su Minglei's face as he'd never imagined that his question would actually give rise to such a topic. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're eloquent indeed, but you'll surely die here today, and you'll be buried with Yuqing and the others. Su Minglei spoke furiously. Meanwhile, the white dragon's voice resounded out in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. Hongzhuang, there's another way now. What way? Bailey Hongzhuang was slightly stunned, and she was really unable to think of a better way in the current situation. If you're already prepared to expose the secret, then directly place Xiao He into the chaos ring. The white dragon's voice revealed a slightly heavy tone. If it was possible, it naturally didn't wish for the secret of the chaos ring to be exposed. But Xiao He was an extremely important existence as well, so it couldn't be helped at the critical moment. There's another way, and that's to place all of them into the chaos ring after I come out. Because I'm unable to confirm exactly what cultivation the other aura on Jun Lingxuan's body possesses, and I can't guarantee that I'll be able to defeat him. In this way, we can't enter the chaos ring again, and we have to wait until we have sufficient confidence to annihilate them before entering. White Dragon's eyes flashed with a complicated light. For the current situation, this was not a bad idea. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. This is indeed a good idea. As long as they could save Xiao He, that would be the best. I'll try to put them all into the chaos ring. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes turned cold. She was disgusted by the people in front of her. If she could get rid of them, she would be helping the D family to clear the way. All right, I'll be ready to come out at any time, White Dragon replied. After making her decision, Bailey Hongzhuang did not delay any longer. With a thought, she was about to put Jun Lingxuan and the others into her chaos ring. However, after she tried, she realized that she did not succeed. What's going on? Bailey Hongzhuang furrowed her brows. Ever since she had obtained the chaos ring, nothing like this had ever happened. Try putting Xiao He into the chaos ring again. White Dragon's expression was complicated as well. Bailey Hongzhuang tried again, but to no avail. How could this be? Bailey Hongzhuang was shocked. She had never noticed this problem before. Ever since they had entered the Divine Cloud secret realm, Xiao He and Baisher had always been by her side and had never entered the chaos ring. Hence, she had never noticed this. Chapter 48-47. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with disbelief. All this while, they had been able to enter and exit the chaos ring as they pleased. However, she never thought that she would encounter such a situation in the Immortal Cloud secret realm. Perhaps only inanimate objects can be placed in here. Living objects cannot enter another space directly. The White Dragon's voice deepened. Actually, this is also a type of restrictive spell. Only powerful cultivators can set it up. Previously, when you were in the lower realm, most restrictive spells would not be able to affect the Chaos Ring at all. However, the restrictive spells in the upper realm are much stronger than those in the lower realm. Bailey Hongzhuang tried 2 more times, but realized that there was no effect. Only then did she realize the truth. If that's the case, if you come out, does that mean that you won't be able to enter the Chaos Ring again? Her clear, cold eyes flashed with a complicated light. Or, you won't be able to come out at all? Based on the current situation, this was very likely. I can't be certain about this either. However, it's just as you've said. If I come out, I'm afraid that I won't be able to enter again. The White Dragon replied. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart slowly sank. This was definitely not good news for her. Previously, she had not placed too much importance on the dangers of the Immortal Cloud secret realm. Because of the power of the Chaos Ring, she had many ways to escape. However, without this method, the danger of the Chaos Ring has greatly increased. At the very least, saving Xiao He has become extremely difficult. Jun Lingxuan and the others did not panic when they saw that Bailey Hongzhuang had sunk into silence. Since Bailey Hongzhuang would not be able to escape, they would just tease her for a while longer and treat it as a form of entertainment. Bailey Hongzhuang, you don't have to think anymore. No matter what you think, it's useless. Xiao Shou sneered. What on earth do you want? After realizing that their previous methods were useless, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Xiao Shou and the others once again. She could only rely on herself now. Didn't I tell you before? If you kneel down and beg us, I will consider letting it go. Jun Lingxuan's lips curved into a playful smile as he proudly looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. With Bailey Hongzhuang's peerless face, most men would not be able to lay their hands on her. If Xiao Shou was not here, he really wanted to make Bailey Hongzhuang his woman. However, he knew that he had to look at the big picture. Right now, the Jun family had to join forces with the Xiao family. Only then would they be able to completely overthrow the D family. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was outstanding, she did not have enough power behind her, so Xiao So was the most important. One of the main reasons why he was teasing Bailey Hongzhuang was to curry favor with Xiao So. He was well aware of a woman's jealousy. In the past, Bailey Hongzhuang had stolen the limelight. Xiao So hated Bailey Hongzhuang to the extreme. At this moment, he could help Xiao So vent her anger. Xiao So's impression of him would definitely improve greatly. Compared to the other suitors, his chances of winning were undoubtedly the highest. In your dreams, Bailey Hongzhuang said coldly. If that's your attitude, then there's nothing I can do. Jun Lingxuan spread out his hands and increased the strength of his feet. Xiaohei could not help but groan again. Her face revealed a painful expression. Stop, Bailey Hongzhuang said through gritted teeth. Chapter 48:48. When Xiao So saw Jun Lingxuan venting his anger for her, a deep smile appeared in her eyes. The more pain Bailey Hongzhuang was in, the happier she was. During this period of time, she had been suppressed by Bailey Hongzhuang. Due to her engagement with Di Beichun, she had been compared to Bailey Hongzhuang everywhere. Initially, she had thought that Bailey Hongzhuang was not fit to appear on the same stage as her. Now, she has become the object of comparison. Most importantly, Bailey Hongzhuang had been in the limelight during this period of time. Many people had vaguely decided that she could not compare to her. This was an insult to her. Every time she had nightmares, she would feel a strong urge to kill her. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang was standing in front of them in humiliation, completely helpless at their mercy. Bailey Hongzhuang no longer had her arrogant demeanor. This made her feel a great sense of satisfaction. If you don't kneel down, I'll kill it. Jun Lingxuan pulled out his sharp sword and pointed it at Xiaohei. The tip of the sharp sword pierced Xiaohei's body. Fresh blood stained the tip of the sword, but Xiaohei held on and did not make a sound. Her dark, bottomless eyes stared fixedly at Jun Lingxuan. The dark light in her eyes was like two bottomless pools, emitting a shocking, murderous intent. Jun Lingxuan, after this day, if I don't die, I will kill you with my own hands. Bailey Hongzhuang spat out these vicious, murderous words. Her hands were clenched into fists as hatred burned wildly in her chest, nearly burning her entire being into ashes. Jun Lingxuan chuckled. Based on your current situation, saying such harsh words to me won't have any deterrent effect. Bailey Hongzhuang, stop stalling for time. Jun Zitao sneered. If you don't kneel down and beg for mercy, this contract beast will really lose its life. Master, don't worry about me. Leave quickly. When Xiaohei saw Bailey Hongzhuang being humiliated by Jun Lingxuan and the others, her eyes flashed with hatred. It never thought that its master would suffer such humiliation because of it. It secretly hated its own uselessness. If it had not fallen into the hands of Jun Lingxuan, why would its master have to endure all this? Seeing its master suffer, it felt even worse. If that was the case, it would rather die a quick death. Shut up. Jun Zitao kicked Xiaohei, then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, You have to think carefully. Time waits for no one. Master, forget it. It's not worth it. Baisher looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, Let's leave quickly. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Baisher, then at Xiaohei with tears in her eyes. Finally, a determined light flashed in her eyes. In the next moment, Bailey Hongzhuang stepped back a few steps. When Xiao So saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was about to escape, she took a few steps forward and approached Bailey Hongzhuang. Clearly, if Bailey Hongzhuang were to escape, Xiaohei would chase after her immediately. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to turn around and leave, she exchanged glances with Baisher. Baisher, we only have one chance. Bailey Hongzhuang replied. I understand. Then Bailey Hongzhuang and Baisher turned around and left as quickly as they could. They're running away. Xiao So quickly shouted. Chapter 48:49. A contracted beast was undoubtedly very important to every cultivator, but it was definitely not as important as their own life. When she saw how Bailey Hongzhuang valued Xiaohei so much, she felt a little strange. When she saw Bailey Hongzhuang turning around to leave, she realized that Bailey Hongzhuang had put on an act to divert their attention so that she could escape. When Jun Lingxuan and the others saw Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, a trace of astonishment flashed across their eyes. However, they were not overly anxious because of this. This was because from the moment Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared here, it was already destined that she would not be able to escape. However, what happened next was beyond their expectations. Just as Xiao Shou was about to chase after Bailey Hongzhuang suddenly flashed and appeared behind Xiao Shou at lightning speed. A dagger appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and was placed horizontally across Xiao Shou's neck. Xiao Shou was equally shocked. She never thought that Bailey Hongzhuang would suddenly make such a move. It was completely beyond her expectations. Bailey Hongzhuang, this is your scheme. Xiao Shou cried out angrily and immediately struggled to break free from Bailey Hongzhuang's grip. Don't move. Bailey Hongzhuang held Xiao Shou hostage. If you dare to move again, I can't guarantee that my dagger won't disfigure your face. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Shou instantly stopped moving. To a woman, nothing was more important than her face. Bailey Hongzhuang, don't act recklessly. Xiao Shou's voice was filled with anxiety. She was really worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would go crazy and ignore everything. Let go of Xiao He. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze turned to Jun Lingxuan. Jun Lingxuan, Jun Zitao, and Su Minglei could not help but feel astonished when they saw this sudden change. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang, who was holding Xiao Shou hostage, Jun Lingxuan's eyes flashed with a complicated light. He did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so calm at a time like this, and even come up with such a plan. It must be said that they had underestimated her. This Bailey Hongzhuang is much smarter than Xiao Shou. A voice rang in Jun Lingxuan's mind. It's a pity that she doesn't have a strong background. Otherwise, I wouldn't treat her like this. Jun Lingxuan shrugged his shoulders. He had never cared about relationships. Only benefits were the most important. He did not like Xiao Shou. Although there were many cultivators who pursued Xiao Shou, he felt that most of them did not admire Xiao Shou herself, but her benefits and the Xiao family behind her. He was the same. If the Xiao family did not exist, any man would probably choose Bailey Hongzhuang before Bailey Hongzhuang and Xiao Shou, because not only was she beautiful, but she was also smart and even very capable. There was nothing to nitpick about. Bailey Hongzhuang, quickly let go of Miss Xiao. Jun Lingxuan's face revealed a nervous expression and hurriedly said, let go of Xiao He first. Bailey Hongzhuang did not back down. All right then. Jun Lingxuan nodded. We'll let her go together. You have no right to negotiate with me. Her ink-black phoenix eyes flashed with a determined and ruthless light. If you don't let her go, I'll kill her directly. Chapter 4850. Faced with Jun Shitao's threat, Bailey Hongzhuang's voice was cold and her gaze was icy. It looks like you want Xiao Shou to die. Saying that, the dagger in her hand slit open Xiao Shou's skin and fresh blood immediately flowed out. Stop it! Xiao Shou quickly cried out when she felt the pain in her neck. She knew that Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to kill her, and her heart was filled with remorse. She had actually fallen into her hands. Young Master Jun, let go of Xiao He at once. Xiao Shou looked pleadingly at Jun Lingxuan. She felt that if this were to go on, Bailey Hongzhuang would very likely kill her. After all, to Bailey Hongzhuang, she was also an extremely loathsome existence. Hearing that, Jun Lingxuan nodded. All right, I'll let it go. In the next moment, Jun Lingxuan immediately released the rope that was tied around Xiao He's body. Immediately after that, Xiao He moved her body and quickly approached Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, the weak Xiao He came to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. I'm sorry, I've dragged you into this. Seeing that Xiao He had returned, Bailey Hongzhuang heaved a sigh of relief. Don't say such silly things, as long as you're all right. But looking at the extremely weak Xiao He before her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. Why are you so weak? There's something strange about that rope. It's been absorbing my blood essence. Xiao He said in a low voice. Ever since she had been tied up by that rope, she had discovered that the blood essence in her body was being continuously absorbed. Blood essence was extremely important to both cultivators and demonic beasts. Once the blood essence was absorbed, one's condition would quickly deteriorate. At this moment, more than half of the blood essence in her body had been absorbed, and she had naturally become like this. Absorbing blood essence? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows flashed with a trace of surprise. She really didn't expect that the rope would have such an effect. That's too vicious, Yi Futian said. White Lion's eyes also flashed with intense hatred. If they had not held Xiao Shou hostage, Xiao He would not have been able to live for long under the constant absorption of the rope. Even if Little Black was saved now, with its current weak state, if they couldn't find the essence blood, it would take a long time for it to recover. I'm afraid this has something to do with Jun Lingxuan's aura. White Dragon's voice rang out. Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed slightly. It seems that the aura on Jun Lingxuan's body isn't anything good. Since it needed to absorb a person's blood essence, it could be seen that the cultivation method it practiced was also vicious. There were many vicious cultivation methods in this world that relied on absorbing blood essence and finding a human cauldron to increase one's cultivation. Even though the rate of increase was very fast, it was extremely vicious and was despised by many. She never thought that Jun Lingxuan, a disciple of an aristocratic family, would have such an existence by his side. This isn't strange. White Dragon appeared to be relatively calm. Many people put on a dignified front, but they're not good people behind the scenes. Master, Xiao He has been reduced to this state. I'm afraid that she won't be able to recover in a short period of time. White Lion sighed. As a demonic beast, he understood the importance of blood essence to a demonic beast all too well. After losing so much blood essence, Xiao He's powers would decrease by a large amount. Bailey Hongzhuang, I've released your contracted beast. Now, you should release Lady Xiao. Jun Lingxuan spoke. Chapter 48:51. Bailey Hongzhuang, you're too shameless. Xiao Shou's eyes were burning with rage. You're going back on your word. Xiao Shou, get this straight. I've never said that I'll let you go. How am I going back on my word? Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes were cold. Besides, in terms of shamelessness, I can't compare to you. Sensing the chilling chill in Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Xiao Shou couldn't help but turn her pleading gaze towards Jun Lingxuan. Now, they could only rely on Jun Lingxuan to think of a solution. She had already fallen into Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, and it was obvious that nothing they said would be of any use. Big brother, what should we do? Jun Zitao's brows furrowed. I didn't think that this Bailey Hongzhuang would be so smart. If we attack her directly, I'm afraid that Miss Xiao would lose her life. Bailey Hongzhuang was already a turtle in a jar, and it was impossible for her to escape. Now that Xiao Shou was being held hostage, they were instead restricted and didn't dare to make a move. Because once Xiao Shou lost her life, their alliance with the Xiao family would be affected. So no matter what, they must protect Xiao Shou. Young Master Jun, this Bailey Hongzhuang is extremely cunning. We have to think of a way. Su Minglei's face was just as ugly. He had been avoiding Bailey Hongzhuang's pursuit all this time, worried that Bailey Hongzhuang would come looking for him. It was only after he met Jun Lingxuan and the others that he felt completely relieved. After all, the grudges between the Jun family and the Di family were clear to all of them. It was because of this that he had told them about the conflict between himself and Bailey Hongzhuang and had asked Jun Lingxuan and the others to make preparations. He was also puzzled by Jun Lingxuan's methods. Previously, when Xiao He had appeared, he hadn't noticed it at all. But Jun Lingxuan seemed to have predicted it and had immediately ordered them to attack a certain spot. Just like that, Xiao He had fallen into their hands. In fact, even if Xiao He had appeared right in front of him, he probably wouldn't have noticed it. After this incident, he felt that Jun Lingxuan was a terrifying existence. If he could, he only wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Unfortunately, the situation before him now's an impossible. You've saved your life, Xiao He Hongzhuang, but you should know that she's in a very weak state. Jun Lingxuan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang firmly. As long as you let Miss Xiao go, I'll return this thing to you. How about it? As soon as he finished speaking, a transparent glass bottle appeared in Jun Lingxuan's hand. Inside the bottle was a bright red liquid. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes narrowed. That's Xiao Hei's blood essence. Bai Shi hurriedly exclaimed. That's right. That's my blood essence. Xiao Hei's eyes burned with fury. Ever since she was born, she had never been treated like this. The feeling of having her blood essence drawn out was the most painful. If we retrieve this blood essence, will Xiao Hei's condition improve? Bailey Hongzhuang asked. She didn't know much about this. After all, there were some differences between monsters and cultivators. Yes. Bai Shi nodded. Xiao Shou had also heard the conversation between Bailey Hongzhuang and her two contracted beasts. She hurriedly said, since that's the case, Bailey Hongzhuang, what are you still thinking about? Chapter 4852. The moment she threw it out, Jun Lingxuan's voice rang out. Bailey Hongzhuang, that bottle is made of glass. Once it breaks, it will be useless. At the same time, Jun Zitao attacked Bai Shi. Seeing Jun Zitao's sudden attack, Bai Shi instinctively dodged. Seeing that the glass bottle was about to hit the ground, Bailey Hongzhuang moved and caught the glass bottle in her hand. Taking advantage of the time when Bailey Hongzhuang caught the glass bottle, Xiao Shou's inner energy surged and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang, then quickly retreated and escaped from Bailey Hongzhuang's grip. Miss Xiao, are you all right? Jun Lingxuan came to Xiao Shou's side, his handsome face revealing a look of concern. Xiao Shou nodded. Young Master Jun, thank you. She knew very well that if it wasn't for Jun Lingxuan, she would have died in Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. Miss Xiao, you're too polite. We're on the same side. As long as you're safe, I can rest assured. Jun Lingxuan's smile was still on his face, like a spring breeze. Looking at Jun Lingxuan like this, Xiao Shou's heartbeat suddenly sped up and her cheeks flushed red. Although she knew that Jun Lingxuan had feelings for her, she didn't take it to heart, because all along, there had been many cultivators who pursued her. But after Jun Lingxuan saved her, her thoughts suddenly changed. It was only now that she realized that Jun Lingxuan was also so handsome. Most importantly, she was very important in his eyes. Jun Lingxuan also noticed the change in Xiao Shou's expression, and the complacency in his heart grew stronger. It seemed that his goal was about to be achieved. Xiao Shou obviously had feelings for him, so it was only a matter of time before he completely captured Xiao Shou's heart. He had to thank Bailey Hongzhuang. If it weren't for this, he probably wouldn't have been able to make Xiao Shou fall in love with him. When Bailey Hongzhuang saw that Xiao Shou had broken free from her control, she did not pay too much attention to it. She carefully checked the blood essence to make sure that there was nothing wrong with it before handing it over to Xiao Hei. Xiao Hei, this is for you. At this moment, Xiao Hei was simply too weak. Bailey Hongzhuang also hoped that she would be able to recover quickly after finding her blood essence. Otherwise, it would be difficult for her to even stay awake in her current state. Thank you, Master. Xiao Hei accepted the blood essence. Bailey Hongzhuang, what's the use of saving your contracted beast? Today, all of you will die here. Jun Zitao looked at Bailey Hongzhuang coldly. He only felt that the other party's previous efforts were all useless. Their goal was never Xiao Hei, but Bailey Hongzhuang. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang appeared here, she was destined to never leave. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. The outcome hasn't been decided yet. Don't be happy too early. Haha, what did I hear? Jun Zitao laughed. You're just a mere 6-star light realm. You're dreaming if you want to escape from our hands. They had already learned about Bailey Hongzhuang's specific strength from Su Minglei. Even if Su Minglei repeatedly emphasized that Bailey Hongzhuang's combat strength was stronger than his, they would not put her in their eyes. No matter how strong he was, how strong could he be? Chapter 4853. In the face of Jun Zitao's disdainful words, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was calm, her eyes clear and unwavering, as if she was not affected at all. Big brother, let me meet this Bailey Hongzhuang and see how capable she is to be so arrogant. Jun Zitao looked at Jun Lingxuan and suggested. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan frowned. Zitao, she's a little strange, big brother. Don't worry, there won't be a problem. Jun Zitao was full of confidence and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in front of him. You're here, what are you afraid of? I'll take this opportunity to meet her and see what a cultivator from the lower realms is capable of. At this time, Su Minglei hurriedly spoke up. Second young master Jun, this Bailey Hongzhuang's combat strength is much stronger than her cultivation. It's not as simple as it looks. Jun Zitao frowned and waved his hand, his face full of displeasure. What? Do you think I'm not her opponent? Seeing this, Su Minglei forcibly swallowed back the words she wanted to say. Her expression was awkward, and she quickly waved her hand of course not. Since you're not, then why are you talking nonsense here? Jun Zitao asked. Su Minglei immediately fell silent. He was just being kind. He didn't expect to be reprimanded by Jun Zitao, and his heart was filled with anger. He was the young master of the Su family, and he was being treated like this by Jun Zitao. If it weren't for the fact that they had more people in the Jun family, he wouldn't have bothered with Jun Zitao. At this moment, he wished that Jun Zitao would die in the hands of Bailey Hongzhuang, who asked him to be so arrogant. He deserved it. Young Master Jun, since second young master wants to try, let him try. Xiao Sou smiled at Jun Zitao. With you here, nothing will happen. If you need help, we'll do it directly. Jun Lingxuan listened to Xiao Sou's words and nodded. Since you want to try, then go ahead. Jun Zitao had always listened to Jun Lingxuan. After seeing Jun Lingxuan agree, a smile appeared on his face. Thank you, big brother. Don't worry, I will definitely teach her a lesson and help my future sister-in-law vent her anger. Jun Zitao's face was filled with joy as he looked at Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan with an ambiguous gaze. As Jun Lingxuan's younger brother, he naturally knew what his elder brother was thinking. This trip to the immortal cloud mystic realm was a great opportunity for him to pursue Xiao Sou. After what happened just now, he believed that Xiao Sou would definitely become his future sister-in-law. Suddenly hearing Jun Zitao's words, Xiao Sou was slightly taken aback. Her face quickly flushed red, and her eyes were filled with shyness. Jun Lingxuan smiled and explained, Miss Xiao, my younger brother doesn't think before he speaks. Please don't take it to heart. Xiao Sou nodded her head shyly, but her heart was filled with disappointment. However, Jun Lingxuan's next words made her happy once again. Of course, if all of this can become a reality, it would naturally be the happiest thing for me. As he said that, Jun Lingxuan sized up Xiao Sou's expression. Feeling Jun Lingxuan's gaze, Xiao Sou became even more shy, not knowing what to say. Jun Lingxuan saw that he had achieved his goal and did not say anything more. He understood that for a woman to accept him, it would naturally take some time. Chapter 48-54. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the ambiguous relationship between Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan, and a trace of ridicule surfaced in her eyes. From the looks of it, Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan were bound to become a couple in the future. With such a fickle character, she had actually said that she liked Bei Chen. How astonishing. Master, I thought that Xiao Sou was very infatuated. Back then, she had said that she liked Bei Chen. How long has it been? It's only been a few months, and she's already fallen in love with someone else. TSK, the speed at which she changes her heart is really extraordinary. White Lion's gaze fell upon Xiao Sou. He had always hated Xiao Sou, especially her arrogance and unreasonable behavior. However, he had always thought that she was acting this way because she liked Bei Chen. Now, it seemed that this woman's love was really cheap. Even Xiao He, who was busy recovering, could not help but speak up. Jun Lingxuan, you'd better think carefully. If you marry a woman like this in the future, she might cheat on you when you're not paying attention. That would be fun. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingxuan, who had originally been a couple, had an ugly look on their faces when they heard Xiao He and White Lion's words. Xiao Sou's face turned ashen, and the shyness on her face instantly disappeared. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with eyes full of anger. As a woman, the most taboo thing was to be fickle. Bailey Hongzhuang's two contracted beasts had put such a label on her head. She would never be able to clear her name. Bailey Hongzhuang, what nonsense are you talking about? Xiao Sou's expression was ferocious. If you dare to speak nonsense again, I'll kill you immediately. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang laughed softly. What? Did we hit the nail on the head? That's why he jumped up so anxiously? Actually, you don't have to be too angry. We all know the truth. Do you think Jun Lingxuan doesn't know? Xiao Sou was taken aback, and she quickly turned to look at Jun Lingxuan. Young Master Jun, I am not like what she said. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly, the smile on his face unchanged. I understand. However, in the face of Jun Lingxuan, Xiao Sou could not help but worry. She didn't understand if Jun Lingxuan was trying to comfort her or something. After all, men were always very concerned about such things. At the thought of this, Xiao Sou's hatred towards Bailey Hongzhuang deepened. She must skin Bailey Hongzhuang alive and let her die in excruciating pain. Jun Lingxuan's eyes darkened. He naturally knew that Xiao Sou was very infatuated with Di Beichun, and the speed of her change was indeed very fast. However, he didn't mind, because the one he cared about was never Xiao Sou herself. Hence, he didn't take Bailey Hongzhuang's words to heart. Miss Xiao, you don't have to get angry over her. I'll go teach her a lesson now and make her kneel in front of you and kowtow to admit her mistakes. Jun Zitao's face was ashen. His big brother was finally going to be together with Xiao Sou. He didn't expect that Bailey Hongzhuang's two contracted beasts would suddenly say such a thing. It was obvious that it had caused some damage. All right, Xiao Sou nodded, her eyes sinister and vicious. I want her to die here today. In the next moment, Jun Zitao took a step forward and walked to Bailey Hongzhuang's side. Bailey Hongzhuang, I'll give you a chance to fight one-on-one. Show me what you've got. Chapter 4855. Master, don't worry. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was instructing Bai Shi, Jun Zitao's figure flashed and turned into an invisible ray of light that attacked directly. Seeing that Jun Zitao had launched a sneak attack on her, Bailey Hongzhuang frowned, and a sharp light appeared in her beautiful eyes. The next moment, the mind-severing sword in her hand stabbed violently in a direction without hesitation. Jun Zitao did a backflip and retreated a few steps. When his figure could be seen clearly again, he was looking at Bailey Hongzhuang with an ashen face. Jun Zitao had always been very confident in his figure. He was very good at speed. Usually, when he launched a sneak attack, the average person would not be able to react in time. However, he did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to detect his location. His eyes were suddenly filled with astonishment. You can actually detect me? What's so strange about detecting you? Bailey Hongzhuang raised her eyebrows and her eyes were cold. It was true that the naked eye could not detect Jun Zitao's true location. However, she could lock onto him based on her aura. Moreover, after so many years of fighting, she had already developed a combat awareness. She did not need to think at all and could subconsciously determine the opponent's location. This combat awareness could not be described with words, but it really existed. Most importantly, it was very accurate. At least you have some skills. Jun Zitao chuckled. He still did not put Bailey Hongzhuang in his eyes. However, this is still not enough. Vigorous power erupted from Jun Zitao's body, and a fiery red light appeared between his hands. Then, Bailey Hongzhuang felt the surrounding temperature suddenly rise. Fire attribute. Bailey Hongzhuang immediately knew Jun Zitao's attribute. The fire attribute was undoubtedly an extremely strong attribute in combat. In the next moment, Jun Zitao directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. The scorching temperature seemed to be able to burn the air. Jun Zitao waved his hands, and a fireball attacked directly. Once the fireball touched the body, it would undoubtedly burn. After Xiao Sou saw Jun Zitao's method, a smile appeared on her face. It would be best to burn all of Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes. That would be interesting. She wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to die in humiliation. This was undoubtedly an excellent method. Thinking of this, Xiao Sou looked at Jun Zitao with satisfaction. Although the D family had stolen the limelight during the previous pill refining competition, it seemed that things weren't as bad as his father had thought. Although the June family strength was slightly weaker than the D family's, as long as they worked together, they would still be an extremely powerful force. Bailey Hongzhuang also realized the purpose of Jun Zitao's actions. Her eyes were filled with disgust, and her face was even colder. Shameless. However, Jun Zitao did not care about Bailey Hongzhuang's insults at all. He just wanted to tease Bailey Hongzhuang. Under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang immediately retreated. In order to avoid the flames, she appeared to be very flustered. Looking at this, Jun Zitao could not help but sneer. Su Minglei, I haven't seen you for a few years. I see that your combat power has greatly decreased, right? You can't even deal with this kind of strength? Chapter 48-56. He originally wanted to remind Jun Zitao, but after hearing Jun Zitao's ridicule, he decided not to say anything else. After experiencing the previous incident, Su Minglei naturally understood that Bailey Hongzhuang was an extremely intelligent person. Perhaps she was pretending to be weak in order to lure Jun Zitao into a trap. For someone as annoying as Jun Zitao, it would be great if they could teach him a good lesson. Jun Lingxuan couldn't help but frown after noticing the situation. As far as I know, Su Minglei's strength has reached the pinnacle of the Starlight Realm. How could he not defeat Bailey Hongzhuang? Didn't Su Minglei say that Bailey Hongzhuang's contracted beast is also at the pinnacle of the Starlight Realm? Su Minglei naturally has no problem dealing with Bailey Hongzhuang. He knew that he would be at a disadvantage previously. It must be because Bailey Hongzhuang and her contracted beast attacked together. Xiao So answered without hesitation. In her opinion, there was no other possibility other than this. Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. I'm afraid so. Jun Zitao forced Bailey Hongzhuang to retreat again and again. She was battered and exhausted, and the complacent expression on his face was getting stronger. Bailey Hongzhuang, do you want to kowtow and admit defeat? This way, I can give you a quick death. Jun Zitao mocked. Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't be bothered with him. Dream on. Since that's the case, I'll show you my true power. At the next moment, the energy in Jun Zitao's body surged wildly. It was obvious that he wanted to severely injure Bailey Hongzhuang. However, just as Jun Zitao was preparing his move, Bailey Hongzhuang's aura suddenly changed from the initial Starlight Realm to Starlight Realm Level 8. Jun Zitao couldn't help but be stunned. He looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in astonishment. It was obvious that he couldn't believe that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation had improved so much in such a short period of time. However, Bailey Hongzhuang did not give him any time to consider. Her figure flashed, and she disappeared from the spot like a ghost. In the next moment, her attack landed heavily on Jun Zitao's body. Jun Zitao's figure suddenly flew out, but Bailey Hongzhuang's speed was even faster. Her figure flashed and appeared behind Jun Zitao. She sent out a flying kick, ruthlessly kicking the opponent's chest. The thought's severing sword mercilessly stabbed towards Jun Zitao's chest. She wanted to kill this damned bastard. Seeing the sharp sword approaching him, Jun Zitao's face turned pale, and he quickly reached out to block it. A blood-curdling scream came out of Jun Zitao's mouth as a severed arm fell to the ground. His arm blocked Bailey Hongzhuang's thought's severing sword from attacking his chest. However, the thought's severing sword was so sharp that it directly cut off his arm. Jun Lingxuan had already prepared to rescue Jun Zitao when he discovered that Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had skyrocketed. However, it was only now that he realized that Jun Zitao had unknowingly distanced himself from them during the previous battle. It was only at this moment that he realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's previous weakness was all an act. It wasn't that she couldn't defeat Jun Zitao, but that she wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to kill him. Damn it, Jun Lingxuan cursed. He didn't expect that his negligence would cause such a thing. Chapter 48-57. Among everyone present, only Su Minglei did not find the situation strange. In fact, he was a little happy. A damn guy like Jun Zitao deserved to be taught a lesson. It was just that he could not express this joy on the surface. Bailey Hongzhuang did not stop attacking after chopping off Jun Zitao's hand. She attacked again with the silk cutter sword. Bailey Hongzhuang, how dare you? Jun Lingxuan roared. His eyes were bloodshot and looked as if they would pop out of their sockets at any moment. Jun Zitao was his younger brother. The two of them had always been on good terms since they were young. If Jun Zitao died in front of him, he would definitely not be able to accept it. However, in the face of Jun Lingxuan's roar, Bailey Hongzhuang acted as if she did not hear it. Not only did the sword in her hand not slow down, but it also sped up. She was filled with disgust towards Jun Zitao. Naturally, she could not wait to make this guy disappear from this world. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's fast sword, Jun Zitao's eyes flashed with intense fear. He had never felt that death was so close to him. Thinking of this, he forced himself to retreat. His legs felt numb, and he did not have any strength left. However, his hands desperately crawled backward. The silk cutter sword stabbed out and directly pierced Jun Zitao's body, making a dull sound. Jun Zitao screamed. At the same time, Jun Lingxuan came to his side. He waved his right hand and attacked Bailey Hongzhuang without hesitation. Seeing Jun Lingxuan appear, Bailey Hongzhuang was extremely fast. Her figure flashed, and she took a few steps back to avoid his attack. I didn't expect Jun Lingxuan's strength to have reached the Nebula Realm. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Bailey Hongzhuang narrowed her eyes. She had always had a bad impression of Jun Lingxuan. Only when the other party attacked at this moment did she realize that as the young master of the Jun family, his strength was extremely powerful. As expected, none of the outstanding descendants of the great clans were easy to deal with. After Jun Lingxuan rescued Jun Zitao, he found that Jun Zitao's condition was extremely bad. Not only did he lose an arm, but Bailey Hongzhuang's sword had also pierced through his body. If he hadn't been fast enough, his heart would have been pierced. Even so, Jun Zitao was unable to move at this moment. Zitao, how are you? Jun Lingxuan asked worriedly. Jun Zitao's face was deathly pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura was weak and his voice was filled with despair. Big brother, am I going to die? Don't talk nonsense, you'll be fine. Jun Lingxuan anxiously took out a pill and stuffed it into Jun Zitao's mouth. At the same time, Xiao Sou hurried to Jun Zitao's side, her face filled with worry. Are you okay? Jun Zitao's face was frail as he clutched his injured chest with his right hand. Blood continued to flow out from between his fingers. Big brother, you must avenge me. Jun Lingxuan nodded repeatedly. Don't worry, Big brother will definitely avenge you. Miss Xiao, please help me take care of Zitao. Jun Lingxuan looked at Xiao Sou, his eyes burning with anger. Xiao Sou quickly replied, Don't worry, I will take good care of him. Jun Lingxuan's face revealed a relieved expression before he turned to Bailey Hongzhuang. I didn't expect that we had underestimated you. Chapter 48-58. Listening to Jun Shitao's words, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved slightly, but she immediately pursed her lips. It's not the first time you've looked down on me. Haven't you gotten used to it yet? From the moment she appeared here, Jun Zitao and the others had obviously treated her as a turtle in a jar and had been toying with her. However, the final result was a slap to their faces. She had never cared about the other party's contempt, because reality would tell them that they would have to pay a heavy price if they looked down on someone, such as Jun Zitao. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's indifferent appearance, the anger in Jun Lingxuan's eyes burned even more vigorously. What a glib tongue! Jun Lingxuan gritted his teeth. We've indeed looked down on you before. However, we won't make the same mistake again. You must pay with your life for this. Cold words came out from Jun Lingxuan's mouth. His cold gaze was directed at Bailey Hongzhuang, revealing endless killing intent. He regretted the previous matter. Because they had relaxed for a moment, he didn't expect that Jun Zitao would suffer such a serious injury. He had to kill Bailey Hongzhuang with his own hands. Only by doing so could he help Jun Zitao vent his anger. Then let's try it. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze was like a knife. Another bolt of lightning streaked across the void. Her delicate and beautiful face bloomed with a smile like an epiphyllum. It was like a poppy that revealed an evil and charming aura. It's hard to say who will die in the end. After noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's confident appearance, Jun Lingshuan's heart was slightly shaken. Ever since he met Bailey Hongzhuang, he realized that many impossible things had happened to Bailey Hongzhuang. However, no matter how he thought about it, he felt that Bailey Hongzhuang wouldn't be able to use any other means. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang had increased her strength to the Starlight level 8, she still wouldn't be his opponent. However, if that was the case, why was Bailey Hongzhuang still so calm? This was illogical. If it was an ordinary person, they would have long fled. Why was her reaction so different? Then I'll kill you. Even though Jun Lingshuan had a strange feeling in his heart, he didn't care too much because he had a trump card that ordinary people wouldn't expect. In the next moment, Jun Lingshuan's attack directly attacked Bailey Hongzhuang. His attacks were extremely swift and fierce, showing no mercy at all. It was obvious that he really wanted to kill. In order to avoid any unforeseen circumstances, he had to kill Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. Just kill you Hongzhuang. Hongzhuang is a white dragon. She couldn't let Hongzhuang. She couldn't let Hongzhuang. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't stop either. Her hands flipped rapidly, and a complicated and wonderful seal quietly appeared. Noticing Bailey Hongzhuang's actions, Xiao Shou couldn't help but frown. She turned her gaze to Su Minglei, who was idling not far away, and said, Su Minglei, why are you just standing there? You should attack too. Su Minglei originally planned to stand there and watch the show. Ever since he fought with Bailey Hongzhuang, he felt that this woman was very strange. Especially after seeing how Bailey Hongzhuang dealt with Jun Zitao, he realized that it wasn't a wise move to make this woman his enemy. He even wanted to sneak away secretly. He felt that the situation wouldn't be good if he continued to stay here. Chapter 48-59. In this regard, Su Minglei felt helpless. However, since he had already been noticed, he naturally could not take advantage of this opportunity to leave. Otherwise, it would be equivalent to directly falling out with the Jun family. This was not a wise move. After all, he was now standing on the opposite side of the D family. If he were to go against the Jun family and the Xiao family as well, it would not do him any good. Then, Su Minglei joined the battle as well. When she saw that Su Minglei had joined the battle, a trace of resentment flashed across Xiao Shou's eyes. Bailey Hongzhuang, I like to see how arrogant you can be now. From the moment Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared, they had clearly held the absolute advantage. Who would have thought that until now, they would still be led by the nose by Bailey Hongzhuang? This feeling made her extremely unhappy. Therefore, she wanted Bailey Hongzhuang to die. She would not allow any more unexpected situations to occur. When Jun Lingshuan saw Su Minglei appear, he frowned slightly. He then glanced at Xiao Shou, but did not say anything in the end. You want to avenge your family. This is also a chance. Jun Lingshuan said calmly. Su Minglei nodded. I want to kill her for their souls in heaven. In the next moment, Jun Lingshuan and Su Minglei's attacks arrived at the same time. When the White Lion saw this situation, it did not rashly charge forward because the difference in power between the two parties was too great. If it were to charge forward, it would only be seriously injured. Seeing the White Lion's actions, Xiao Shou could not help but chuckle. Bailey Hongzhuang, even your contracted beast is unwilling to help you when death is at hand. In their eyes, the White Lion's retreat had exposed Bailey Hongzhuang behind it. It was clearly betraying its master. Bailey Hongzhuang, however, did not pay any attention to him. The seal in her hands was finally completed, and a mysterious power appeared between her hands. Then, a mysterious door appeared with a loud bang. A heavy and mysterious aura quietly appeared, revealing a strange and magical power. Jun Lingshuan and the others frowned and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. What method is this? Jun Lingshuan's eyes were filled with doubt. He had never seen such a method before. It was simply too shocking. Su Minglei was also at a loss. He shook his head and said, I didn't see him use this method before, so I don't know what it is. They could feel that what Bailey Hongzhuang was using at the moment did not seem to be a martial art, but the power emitted by the door made their hearts palpitate. This feeling was like a primordial beast awakening, hiding the power to devour everything, making people feel weak in their hearts for no reason. She's only a cultivator from the lower realms. How could she possibly have such a powerful trump card? Xiao Shou was shocked. She looked at the mysterious black door that was mixed with the color of blood. Her feelings were extremely complicated. What is this door? Why do I feel a terrifying aura? Jun Zitao's eyes widened. Even though his injuries were very serious, he still pulled himself together when facing this door. In his line of sight, the black door was made of an unknown material. It exuded an indescribable heaviness. The mottled bloodstains seemed to be flowing flames as they flowed on the door, revealing a somber and despairing air. That's right, it was despairing. Chapter 4860. Bailey Hongzhuang. Is this the trump card you're relying on? Jun Lingxuan's face was grave and serious as he stared at Bailey Hongzhuang with his cold eyes. If he hadn't taken all of this seriously before, then his thoughts had changed at this moment. That's right. Bailey Hongzhuang's beautiful eyes were as calm as water, and her voice was as cold as ever. In the next moment, the heavy and strange door slowly opened, and a figure suddenly appeared before everyone's eyes. As the figure appeared, everyone's eyes were filled with shock. In their line of sight was a figure that looked like a qilin and a lion. Its huge body was as big as a mountain, and its eyes were filled with murderous intent. The moment it appeared, a powerful and unparalleled aura exploded and sent chills down everyone's spines. This is the qilin lion beast. Su Minglei swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His eyes widened, and his face was filled with shock. It looks like a qilin and a lion. It must be the qilin lion beast. Jun Lingxuan was also in a daze as he stared at the figure that had suddenly appeared. His heart had long been in turmoil. Why? How did Bailey Hongzhuang do it? This thought kept circling his mind. The qilin lion beast was not an ordinary demon beast. It was a divine beast. It was extremely difficult for them to even see such a demon beast. Bailey Hongzhuang could actually make it fight for her? What kind of technique was this? There was a moment of silence, and time seemed to have stopped. Xiao Shou and the others' faces stiffened, and they felt that they must be dreaming. Master, you actually summoned the qilin lion beast? White Lion's eyes were filled with astonishment. He thought that his master would summon the centipede from before. He did not expect her to summon the qilin lion beast this time. This qilin lion beast was even more powerful than the centipede. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly, her expression showing a trace of exhaustion, but her eyes were exceptionally bright. When she was summoning, she thought of the qilin lion beast and wanted to see if she could successfully summon it. When Jun Lingxuan, Su Minglei, and Xiao Shou joined forces, their battle prowess was not to be underestimated. If they only summoned the giant centipede, it would still be somewhat lacking. However, if he could summon the qilin lion beast, it would undoubtedly be more advantageous. This qilin lion beast's true appearance is quite impressive. It looks much better than the last time we saw it. Xiao He sighed. The last time she saw the qilin lion beast, it was covered in bruises and was extremely ugly. It was completely unbefitting of a divine beast. This time, Bailey Hongzhuang had summoned a qilin lion beast that was safe and sound, which was much more powerful. How did you do it? Xiao Shou looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a burning gaze. Her beautiful and delicate face was filled with a strong sense of urgency. This method was simply too shocking. If she could obtain such a method, her future would be even more dazzling. Just by thinking about it, one could imagine how she would look like in the future. She would be the center of attention. A strong sense of jealousy spread in her heart, and her murderous intent grew. The more outstanding Bailey Hongzhuang's performance was, the stronger her murderous intent grew. Chapter 4861. After Xiao Shou had voiced her thoughts, Jun Lingxuan and the rest all looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. They too wanted to know how Bailey Hongzhuang had managed to achieve this. To them, this method was simply too unbelievable. You want to know? Dream on. Her icy words were filled with mockery and ridicule. Her obsidian-like eyes glowed faintly, revealing a peerless sharpness. Didn't you always think that I came from the lower realm and that my methods and abilities could not be compared to yours? Now that I take a closer look at you, you look like you've never seen the world. As soon as these words came out, Xiao Se Wu's face was also stiff. She had blurted it out because she was too shocked. At this moment, she was mercilessly ridiculed by Bailey Hongzhuang. She also felt that she had lost face. However, Xiao Sou, Jun Lingxuan, and the rest could not refute her words. This was because even they themselves thought so. Ever since Bailey Hongzhuang had appeared, she had displayed many abilities. Not only was she not weaker than them, she was even more outstanding than them. Attack! Bailey Hongzhuang shouted coldly, and the Qilin Lion Beast's eyes suddenly turned to Jun Lingxuan and Su Minglei. Its tyrannical aura burst out, and under the other's horrified eyes, it rushed directly towards them. White Lion, let's attack together. Bailey Hongzhuang spoke again, lowering her voice. This Qilin Lion Beast is extremely powerful. Based on my current spiritual energy, I can't summon it for too long. We have to end this quickly. Yes, Master. White Lion nodded hurriedly. Its figure flashed, and it joined the battle. Bailey Hongzhuang's face was slightly pale. Summoning the Qilin Lion Beast was indeed difficult. However, she was very satisfied with the results. As the Qilin Lion Beast battle powers exploded, Jun Lingxuan and the rest could clearly sense that the Qilin Lion Beast's power had reached Nebula Level 2. This level of strength was something that they could not contend against. Damn it! Jun Lingxuan cursed. This Qilin Lion is too strong. He had already used all of his powers, but he was still being beaten back by the Qilin Lion Beast. Even if he teamed up with Su Minglei, they were still no match for the Qilin Lion, let alone the White Lion and Bailey Hongzhuang. The situation was reversed in an instant. Jun Lingxuan and the others no longer had any advantage. Seeing this, Xiao Sou immediately joined the battle. This Qilin Lion is too strong. We're no match for it. Su Minglei was so shocked that he didn't know what to say. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel lucky that Bailey Hongzhuang didn't use this method when they fought. Otherwise, he would have died long ago. And now, the thought of retreating had sprouted in his heart. After fighting Bailey Hongzhuang twice, he no longer wanted to be enemies with Bailey Hongzhuang. Now, he only felt that Bailey Hongzhuang was an undefeatable existence. No one knew what kind of trump card she had. As he thought about it, Su Minglei began to retreat. If he didn't escape now, only death would await him. Su Minglei, you're not thinking of escaping, are you? Xiao Sou immediately noticed Su Minglei's actions and couldn't help but question him. She's too strong. We're all going to die if we stay here. Why don't we split up and escape? Maybe we'll have a chance of survival. Chapter 4862. Su Minglei, if you dare to leave now, I won't let you off in the future. Jun Lingxuan's eyes were also filled with anger. Previously, when Su Minglei met them, he said all kinds of nice things in order to ask them to help him deal with Bailey Hongzhuang. However, at this moment, after such a situation, Su Minglei actually wanted to escape. It was too abominable. Feeling Jun Lingxuan's anger, Su Minglei's footsteps paused slightly, but in the end, he still chose to speed up and escape. Whether or not he would have to bear the anger of Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou in the future depended on whether they could survive after today. If he continued to stay here, he was afraid that he would not be able to see the sun tomorrow. Looking at Su Minglei's rapidly escaping figure, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with anger. In their hearts, they secretly decided that if they saw Su Minglei in the future, they would definitely kill this treacherous bastard. After seeing this scene, the already seriously injured Jun Zitao's face became even paler. Only now did he understand that Su Minglei's exaggerated reaction was true. Bailey Hongzhuang's combat power was too shocking. Even if her cultivation was only at the 6th stage of the Starlight Realm, With such combat power and means, even a Nebula Realm cultivator would not be her opponent. Big brother, Miss Xiao, don't worry about me. Hurry up and leave. Jun Zitao shouted with all his strength. He understood that if Jun Zitao and Xiao Sou chose to leave, there was still a possibility of survival. The reason why they did not have the intention to leave was because of him. After being seriously injured, he did not even have the strength to stand up, let alone escape. Zitao, don't say such stupid things. I won't leave you behind. Jun Lingxuan's face was ashen. No matter what, he would not leave his own brother behind. Bang! The Qilin Lion's fist fiercely hit Jun Lingxuan's chest. The powerful and terrifying force caused Jun Lingxuan to fly backward. After breaking a few trees in succession, he fell heavily on the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust. Puffed! Jun Lingxuan clutched his chest, bright red blood spurting out. Clearly, he was seriously injured. After Jun Lingxuan was seriously injured, Xiao Sou's shoulder was also bitten by the white lion's sharp teeth. Ah! Xiao Sou crazily screamed. Her face was pale and filled with panic. Bailey Hongzhuang, hurry, make it shut up. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes seemed to be looking at an idiot. Xiao Sei Wu, are you out of your mind? After White's T-Tess, White Tess, to avenge Shout Tess's. T-Tess White Lion T-Tess, drag to Tess, directly T-Tess of T's to Two's Tess it. In the blink of an eye, everything had happened in the blink of an eye. Bailey Hongzhuang held the sharp sword in her hand and flew towards Xiao Sou with the thoughts-severing sword. She would never show mercy to her enemies. Quick attack! Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and shouted. TSK Tisk. A sinister and hair-raising voice rang out. Then you better remember what you've promised me. Don't worry, Jun Lingxuan replied. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to approach Xiao Sou, she suddenly froze on the spot and stopped in her tracks. Chapter 48-63. Just as Bailey Hongzhuang was about to attack Xiao Sou, she suddenly felt an aura enter her mind and began to fight for control of her body. What are you trying to do by entering my mind? Bailey Hongzhuang felt a chill in her heart as she asked icily as she stared at the spirit in her sea of consciousness. It was a woman. Her features were extremely ugly, and her entire being emitted a gloomy aura. Bailey Hongzhuang felt extremely uncomfortable the moment she sensed it. She was almost certain that this woman was a heretic cultivator. Only a heretic cultivator would emit such a demonic energy. The woman's eyes lit up with interest when she noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang was not surprised by her appearance. Aren't you curious as to how I had appeared? What's there to be curious about? Bailey Hongzhuang's expression was cold and arrogant. You must be the spirit that had been hiding in Jun Lingxuan's body. The white dragon had warned her about the existence of this spirit a long time ago. Hence, she had always been on guard. However, she never thought that this spirit would enter her sea of consciousness directly. You can actually sense it? A sense of shock appeared in the woman's eyes. I've been by Jun Lingxuan's side for so long, and no one has ever sensed my existence. How did you sense it? Is it important how I sensed it? Bailey Hongzhuang asked in return. The most important thing now is for you to get out of my sea of consciousness immediately. Hearing this, the woman chuckled. Since I'm here, I naturally have no intention of leaving. As she spoke, the woman began to size up Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness. What a powerful physical body with outstanding looks. You'll definitely be able to charm many men. All these years, I've been searching for a physical body that fits my requirements, but I've never been able to find one. However, your appearance is truly a pleasant surprise. The woman looked at Bailey Hongzhuang as if she was looking at her own food. Her eyes were filled with greed and satisfaction. Perfect. This is a perfect body. The woman's face was filled with excitement. All these years, she had been relying on her soul to survive. Even though he had always wanted to search for a suitable physical body, this was no simple task at all. She didn't care about ordinary bodies at all. Since she was looking for one, she naturally had to find one that suited her the most. Moreover, with the strength of her soul, An ordinary physical body wouldn't be able to withstand it. Although she had previously viewed Bailey Hongzhuang in a different light, it was not until she entered Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness that she understood that this was a perfect body for her. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was filled with disgust when she felt the woman's covetous gaze, but she also understood her thoughts. You want to possess my body. Some powerful cultivators had their physical bodies destroyed after encountering danger, but as long as their souls still existed, they would not completely perish. Therefore, these powerful cultivators would often use the method of possession, devouring the souls of others, and using the bodies of others to survive. Not only that, there were also some elderly cultivators who had been unable to break through their shackles, but were unwilling to die. They would also use this method. Actually, many people were not unfamiliar with this method. However, it still filled them with disgust. That was because this was simply too outrageous. Chapter 4864. Most importantly, the death of one soul was something that no one else would know about. Therefore, everyone would think that this person had suddenly changed. There was no doubt that if this sorcerer were to consume her soul, knowing her personality, she would run amok and do something extremely terrifying. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart sank. She may have heard of this kind of possession, but she has never experienced it. At that moment, she was at a loss for what to do. Don't even think about it. Even if your soul is rather powerful, you are no match for me. The woman's eyes were filled with joy. She had been living as a soul and had to rely on Jun Lingxuan. This made her feel extremely unhappy. As long as she has her own physical body, she would be able to survive. Come, be obedient and allow me to consume you. The woman's smile was strange and greedy. Her soul did not hesitate as it pounced towards Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness. In your dreams, Bailey Hongzhuang cried out icily and began to fight with the woman's soul. As they fought, Bailey Hongzhuang's sea of consciousness also turned upside down. Bai Shi and Xiao He could not help but worry when they noticed a strange change in Bailey Hongzhuang. Master, what's wrong? Xiao He quickly asked. Master, are you all right? Bai Shi looked anxious. He could not understand why Bailey Hongzhuang had suddenly frozen in place. No matter how they called out to her, she did not respond. As Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness began to fight, the Qilin lion beast also began to disappear through the door. It had been summoned by Bailey Hongzhuang's consciousness and was under Bailey Hongzhuang's control. At this moment, it could no longer feel Bailey Hongzhuang's pull and naturally left. Xiao Sou's face was filled with astonishment when she noticed this sudden change. However, she could not help but feel pleasantly surprised. What's going on? Xiao Sou looked at Jun Lingxuan. Bailey Hongzhuang was about to win. Why did everything suddenly change? Jun Lingxuan forced himself to stand up, a trace of viciousness appearing on his handsome face. It won't be that easy to kill us. Hearing those words, Xiao Sou's eyes were filled with joy. Young Master Jun, did you do this? Jun Lingxuan nodded slightly. That's right. She's not the only one with a trump card. I have one too. In fact, he was also a little surprised. Even though he knew how powerful the spirit was, he still believed that it would take some time to deal with the Qilin lion. He didn't expect that everything would be stopped in such a short time. He couldn't understand how it was done. Most importantly, he did not see the soul attack, but Bailey Hongzhuang seemed to be frozen in place, unable to move. It was really strange. Of course, in front of Xiao Sou, he would never show it. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's confirmation, the look of joy on Xiao Sou's face turned into admiration. I never thought that young Master Jun would have such a trump card. I don't care. I'm going to kill you first. The white lion turned its vicious gaze towards Xiao Sou. It was all because of this damned woman that its master had to endure so much. Even though it did not know what had happened to its master, it had seized this rare opportunity, and it must kill this woman. Chapter 4865. If you want your master to die, then do it. Jun Lingxuan's voice suddenly rang out. The corners of his lips curled into a cold smile as he stared fearlessly at Bai Shi. Clearly, he was certain that Bai Shi would not dare to make a move. What on earth have you done to my master? Bai Shi roared angrily. No matter how much he thought about it, he could not understand what had just happened. Jun Lingxuan laughed softly. Her life is now in my hands. If you dare to act blindly without thinking, I can guarantee that she will die a horrible death. Bai Shi and Xiao He looked at each other, but did not make a move in the end. Ever since they had followed their master, they had never encountered a situation like this. Compared to Xiao Sou, they naturally value their master's life more. Noticing the fear in Bai Shi and Xiao He's eyes, Xiao Sou's eyes flashed with complacency and viciousness. She immediately took out a pill and swallowed it. She then broke free from Bai Shi's control and quickly approached Jun Lingxuan. Young Master Jun, how did you do it? Xiao Sou stared at Jun Lingxuan in amazement. They had thought that they were going to lose, but Jun Lingxuan had changed the outcome. Jun Lingxuan put on a mysterious smile. Miss Xiao, everyone has their own secrets. I believe that you understand? Xiao Sou nodded. I understand. Don't let her off. You must kill her. Every time she thought about how she had nearly died at Bailey Hongzhuang's hands, she felt a lingering fear in her heart. She no longer wished to find out about Bailey Hongzhuang's secret. She only wished that Bailey Hongzhuang would completely disappear from this world. Because of all these unforeseen events, her heart could no longer take it. Bailey Hongzhuang was a terrifying existence. Jun Lingxuan smiled and nodded. Don't worry, none of them will be able to escape today. At the next moment, Jun Lingxuan turned his gaze to Bai Shi. His gaze was cold and vicious. Bailey Hongzhuang's life is now in my hands. Kill yourself now as an apology. Otherwise, I'll kill her immediately. Bai Shi's expression stiffened when he heard this. What? You don't believe me? Jun Lingxuan raised his eyebrows. How about I try it now? Stop! White Lion hurriedly shouted. Then kill yourself. Jun Lingxuan looked at Bai Shi proudly. He clearly remembered that this guy had attacked him just now. Although he had already taken the pill, his injuries were still serious. It was extremely difficult to deal with White Lion with his own strength. The only way was to use Bailey Hongzhuang to threaten them. He believed that these two contracted beasts would not dare to disobey him. After seeing this scene, Xiao Sou and Jun Zitao revealed proud smiles on their faces. Every dog has its day. Victory is still on our side. Jun Zitao heaved a sigh of relief. His entire being seemed to glow with vigor. Bai Shi looked hesitant. He did not know what to do. Bai Shi, don't believe his words. If you really kill yourself, they won't let Master off. Don't do anything stupid, Xiao He hurriedly said. Then what about Master? Bai Shi had a complicated look on his face. Until now, Bailey Hongzhuang had not made any moves. This situation was just too strange. Master will be fine, Xiao He said with certainty. Chapter 4866. Jun Lingxuan, stop dreaming. Bai Shi's eyes were icy cold. When it had noticed the sudden change in its master, it had been too flustered and its mind had not been clear for a moment. Now that it has calmed down, it understood what was going on. If you could really kill my master immediately, you would have done it long ago. Why would you wait until now? I'm sure that you can't kill my master immediately, can you? Jun Lingxuan's expression sank when he heard Bai Shi's words. He never thought that these two contractual beasts would be so smart and would not fall for his trick. It's fine if you don't believe me. After all, once Bailey Hongzhuang dies, you'll all die as well. Jun Lingxuan chuckled, as if he did not care about this at all. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang dies, Xiao He and Bai Shi, as contractual beasts, would naturally die with Bailey Hongzhuang as well. He was very confident that as long as that spirit attacked, Bailey Hongzhuang would never be able to survive. After all, he had experienced the power of that spirit firsthand. If it had not been for the fact that he had to pay a huge price every time she attacked, he would have asked her to attack long ago. However, as long as he could kill Bailey Hongzhuang, the price would be worth it. The situation had reached a stalemate. Bailey Hongzhuang and the spirit were engaged in a fierce battle in her mind. The other party kept trying to devour her spirit while she tried her best to stop it. During this battle, Bailey Hongzhuang realized that this spirit was extremely powerful. She guessed that its predecessor must have been a very powerful being. If it had not been for the fact that she had not possessed a physical body for many years and her spiritual power had weakened significantly, she would not have been able to fight back at all. Even so, it was not easy for her to deal with this spirit. Her spirit stones had been greatly weakened after she had summoned the Chilean lion beast. Now, it was even more difficult for her to deal with this battle. The woman clearly did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be able to hold on for so long under her devouring. This made her feel a little tired. After all, she had put in a lot of effort to maintain the strength of her spirit. It would not be easy for her to replenish her depleted spirit stones. The woman's attacks became even more ferocious at the thought of this. She had to end this battle quickly and obtain Bailey Hongzhuang's physical body. Bailey Hongzhuang's heart shivered when she sensed the sudden increase in her opponent's attacks. Just then, a thought appeared in Bailey Hongzhuang's mind. Thinking of this, Bailey Hongzhuang mobilized the power of light and began to attack the evil cultivator. Di Beichun and Mo Yunjue moved forward like this. Suddenly, their eyes turned to the front. Di Beichun's eyes lit up. Ever since he entered the Immortal Cloud's secret territory, he had always been alone, until they came across a herb field and met Mo Yunjue. The two of them had been traveling together ever since. They had been traveling for a few days now, but they had not met any other cultivators. They felt rather helpless about this. At this moment, they only hoped that they could find Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. They did not know why, but they felt worried as if something bad had happened. Chapter 48-67. In fact, they had not met any other cultivators along the way, and their hearts were pounding. They did not know if it was because the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm was too big, or if it was because of their luck. If it was really because of their luck, they did not know whether they were lucky or not. This was because they hoped to meet their companions as soon as possible, especially Bailey Hongzhuang and Ao Lingxiao. Only when they found Bailey Hongzhuang would they be able to calm down. Ao Lingxiao was undoubtedly in the most danger in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm. The later they met him, the greater the danger. Beichun, as long as Ao Lingxiao changes his appearance, it should not be easy for others to discover him. Mo Yunjue's dark and deep eyes flashed with a cold and serious light. His voice was gentle as he put forward his thoughts. Ordinary cultivators might not be able to recognize him, but the cultivators from the Ao family and the Jun family have already locked onto his aura. A person's appearance can be changed through disguise, but one's aura cannot be concealed. Ao Zhengquang and the others are so familiar with him that even if his appearance is different, they would be able to recognize him immediately. He had asked Di Xiaofeng about this before. The cultivators from the upper realm were able to determine their identities based on their aura. If the disguise technique was extremely good, it might be able to confuse them for a period of time. However, this only applied to cultivators who were not very familiar with them. If it was someone who was very familiar with them, it would not be able to fool them. When he heard this news, Di Beichun sighed in his heart. It seemed that when they had changed their appearance and returned to Rong'an City previously, it was also quite risky. Fortunately, they were not recognized at that time. The biggest reason for this was that when they were in the House of Raging Flames, they did not make many friends. Therefore, most people were not familiar with them and naturally could not recognize their aura. Hearing Di Beichun's explanation, Mo Yunjue furrowed his beautiful eyebrows. In that case, Ao Lingxiao is indeed more dangerous. Let's speed up. Who knows, the person who is fighting now might be Ao Lingxiao. Di Beichun nodded slightly. They had only been in the Immortal Cloud Mystery Realm for about 10 days. Normally, cultivators would not obtain any outstanding treasures. The battle in the distance was so intense. Perhaps it really was Ao Lingxiao. Bai Shi and Xiao He had been paying attention to Bailey Hongzhuang's situation. When they saw that their mistress's face was turning paler and the corners of her lips were bleeding, the two beasts could not help but panic. Why can't I understand what kind of situation Master is in? At this moment, Xiao He could not be bothered with the fact that her body had yet to recover. Under such circumstances, She was not in the mood to think about these things. She was only worried about Bailey Hongzhuang. White Lion shook its head. It was also unfamiliar with such a situation. Previously, it had not noticed what Jun Lingxuan had done to its master, but its master had already become like this. It was really too strange. If this continues, I'm afraid master won't be able to hold on for much longer. From Bailey Hongzhuang's pale, bloodless face, it could be seen that she was struggling with all her might. Jun Lingxuan, what have you done? Bai Shi's eyes were filled with a dark haze as a cold, killing intent wreaked havoc. Chapter 48-68. Young Master Jun, if it's possible, let's settle this matter as soon as possible. Xiao Sou's words were cold, and her eyes were as dark as the night sky, filled with malevolence and urgency. This Bailey Hongzhuang is no pushover. She has brought us a lot of trouble ever since she had appeared. If we don't get rid of her as soon as possible, I'm worried that we won't know what kind of unforeseen events will happen in the future. Don't worry, she will definitely die today. Jun Lingxuan raised his long brows, and his eyes were filled with confidence. However, this Bailey Hongzhuang holds many curious secrets. It would be a pity to let her die just like that. I'm afraid she won't tell us. Xiao Sou's expression was complicated as a vicious light flashed in her deep eyes. After experiencing so many unforeseen events, she could only hope that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall. Even though she was envious of Bailey Hongzhuang's methods, she knew very well that based on Bailey Hongzhuang's personality, she would never divulge this secret to them. Rather than that, they might as well just kill her. A dark light flashed in Jun Lingxuan's eyes as he stared at Xiao Sou's desperate look. Actually, he too had hoped that this battle could be resolved as soon as possible. However, even he himself did not know what was going on. Ever since that spirit had left, Bailey Hongzhuang had become like this. Vaguely, an idea appeared in his mind. That spirit had been searching for a suitable physical body. Could it be that she had taken a liking to Bailey Hongzhuang? At this moment, no matter how he tried to communicate with that spirit, he could not get any response. Just like how Bailey Hongzhuang would not respond to Bai Shi and Xiaohe. Perhaps the situation was just as he had predicted. Jun Lingxuan's eyes darkened at the thought of this. Even though he had promised to help the spirit find a suitable physical body, he did not want to do so. Because once that spirit had successfully taken over the body, she would never help him again. Moreover, if he knew her secret, he might be silenced by her instead. That would be the worst. Thinking of this, Jun Lingxuan turned to look at Xiao Sou and asked, Miss Xiao, how is your current situation? Do you still have the strength to fight? Xiao Sou was already worried about how to deal with Bailey Hongzhuang as soon as possible. After hearing Jun Lingxuan's question, a hint of joy quietly appeared in her eyes. I'm fine with it. Xiao Sou subconsciously looked at her injured shoulder and said, although my combat ability has been affected, I can still do it. Then let's end this quickly. Jun Lingxuan pursed his thin lips, and a trace of coldness flashed through his ink-black eyes. He was also seriously injured, but after taking a pill and resting for a short period of time, his condition had recovered quite a bit. Bailey Hongzhuang clearly no longer has the strength to fight, while Xiaohe's condition was extremely terrible. Similarly, there was no need to fear her. As such, they only needed to deal with Bai Shi. The scales of victory had already tilted towards their side. All right. After making their decision, Jun Lingxuan and Xiao Sou no longer hesitated and attacked at once. Jun Lingxuan immediately attacked Bai Shi, while Xiao Sou turned her target towards Bailey Hongzhuang. She desperately hoped that Bailey Hongzhuang would fall as soon as possible and did not want to cause any more trouble. Seeing Jun Lingxuan and Xiaohe's actions, Bai Shi's eyes were as cold as a frozen lake in October, chilling to the bone. Xiaohe, let's fight. Chapter 48-69. In the blink of an eye, the battle had erupted. Bai Shi had blocked Jun Lingxuan's attack, but he could not protect Bailey Hongzhuang. Xiaohe was already heavily injured, and her condition was extremely weak. However, for the sake of Bailey Hongzhuang, she immediately enlarged her body and stood in front of her. Xiao Sou's sharp sword stabbed towards Xiao He without any hesitation. Xiao He used all her strength to block the attack. Elemental energy shot out, and streaks of light from the sword flashed past. Xiao Sou could dodge, but Xiao He could not. This was because if it chose to dodge, the attacks would land on its master's body. Hence, it could only endure them all. Within a short period of time, Xiao He's body was riddled with holes and dripping with blood. Xiao He's eyes, which had always been filled with vigor, gradually dimmed. Xiao He felt all the strength in her body dissipating. She glanced reluctantly at Bailey Hongzhuang behind her, as if she wanted to remember her face forever. Master, I may not be able to stay by your side any longer. Her gentle gaze was filled with nostalgia and reluctance to part with Xiao He. She could vaguely see tears in her eyes before they finally turned into determination and unyielding. In the next moment, Blackie's figure moved and pounced directly at Xiao Sou. Even if she had to die, she would help her master get rid of a scourge. When Xiao Sou noticed Xiao He's actions, her eyes flashed with disdain and ridicule. You're already at the end of your rope. You can't possibly kill me. However, Xiao He ignored her words. The elemental energy within her body began to surge wildly. Then, Xiao He's body began to expand in front of everyone's eyes. Sensing Xiao He's movements, Bai Shi and Jun Lingxuan could not help but look over. Xiao He. Bai Shi's pupils shrank, and he could not hide the shock and anxiety on his face. Miss Xiao, be careful. It's going to self-destruct. Jun Lingxuan hurriedly shouted. He never thought that the contract beast would choose to self-destruct in order to kill Xiao Sou. Originally, Xiao Sou didn't quite understand Xiao He's actions. Now that she heard Jun Lingxuan's reminder, a trace of panic quickly appeared on her face. You lunatic! Xiao Sou hurriedly retreated. The power of self-destruction was extremely terrifying. If Xiao He really self-destructed while hugging her, then no matter if it was her or Xiao He, there would be nothing left of them. However, no matter how Xiao Sou struggled, Xiao He hugged her tightly and refused to let her go. Xiao Sou, even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Xiao He's gaze was ferocious and stubborn. It gritted its teeth, and its white fur was already dyed red with blood. However, it no longer cared about any of this. Xiao He, don't do anything stupid. Bai Shi's eyes were bloodshot. When he had found out about Xiao He's actions, his heart had been shaken. Even though the current situation was so dangerous, he never thought that things would turn out this way. This was because they had often lingered on the edge of danger in the past, but had always managed to avert it. However, when he thought about Xiao He's actions, perhaps they really were powerless to turn the tables this time. If that was really the case, he would end up like Xiao He and drag Jun Lingxuan down with him. Chapter 4870. Hearing Xiao He's words, Bai Shi nodded. There was a trace of sadness in its smile, but its eyes were filled with determination. You won't be alone. Even if I have to die, I will drag Jun Lingxuan down with me, so that my master will have a chance of survival. It had already understood the situation before its eyes. It was obvious that Jun Lingxuan had no way of controlling its master's life, and that was why it had decided to take action. As long as they perished together, then its master would still have a chance of survival. After hearing Bai Shi's words, Jun Lingxuan's brows furrowed with anxiety and worry. He never thought that these two contracted beasts would come to such a decision. These two fellows were just too ridiculous. Had they decided to give it their all in order to protect their master? He subconsciously turned to look at Bailey Hongzhuang. Although contracted beasts had always been extremely loyal to their masters, that was because of the master-servant contract between them. Once the master falls, the contracted beast would not have any chance of survival. However, how many contracted beasts would actually take the initiative to go to such lengths for their masters? Madness. These two contracted beasts have gone mad. Xiao Sou's pretty face was filled with terror. The glee in her eyes had long disappeared and was replaced with fear and dread. Young Master Jun, what should we do? She tried desperately to break free from Xiao He, but Xiao He stuck to her like a dogskin plaster, not giving her any chance to escape. Jun Lingshuan's expression was just as complicated. This sudden turn of events had left him at a loss for what to do. When Di Beichun and Imo Yunjue arrived, they saw the situation unfolding before their eyes. Within their line of sight, Bailey Hongzhuang's face was pale white and blood was flowing from the corners of her lips. Xiao Hei's fur had been dyed red with blood, and it was gathering its strength in a frenzy to self-destruct. Although Baishir had suffered less injuries than Xiao Hei, it was still a very serious injury. How tragic was that? Their eyes were almost dyed with traces of blood at the first moment. Anger swept through their hearts, igniting their chests. Di Beichun's eyes, which were as bright as obsidian, turned cold in an instant. They were filled with oppression and killing intent, and the domineering aura of a powerhouse that said, "Those who submit to me will prosper, and those who resist me will perish. You're courting death." His cold voice was like a cold lake. Under this cold chill, the surrounding temperature seemed to drop in an instant, condensing into ice. That was the woman he loved the most. She was the woman he would protect for the rest of his life. She was the woman he placed in the palm of his hand. But now, they were seriously injured by these damned bastards, and their two contracted beasts were even planning to self-destruct. The scene completely infuriated him. An indescribable feeling of blood spread in his heart. Kill, 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 kill. This was the only thought that appeared in Di Beichun's mind. He wanted to kill all these people in front of him. Only in this way could his anger be appeased. Mo Yunjue's expression instantly turned cold as well. A surging murderous intent swept through the air and almost condensed into a solid form. Even though Bailey Hongzhuang's sweetheart was not him, his desire to protect Bailey Hongzhuang has never wavered. She was the person he cared about the most, the person he placed at the tip of his heart at all times. These damned bastards had actually dared to do such a thing. He would never forgive them. The sudden voice shocked Xiao Sou and the others. When they saw Di Beichun and Mo Yunjue's figures, their expressions turned ugly. Chapter 4871. When White Lion heard Di Beichun's voice, its despairing face was instantly dyed with a sense of pleasant surprise. It immediately looked at Xiao Hei and exclaimed, "Xiao Hei, stop! There's a turning point." Previously, they had indeed been driven to a dead end. That was why they had made such a choice. Now that the reinforcements have arrived, Xiao Hei naturally no longer had to choose to self-destruct. Hearing this, Xiao Hei's eyes flashed with astonishment. Then, it turned into pity and a look of relief appeared on its face. "I can no longer turn back. As long as all of you are safe, I can rest assured." Once they had chosen to self-destruct, there was no turning back. Long before this, it had already understood that there was no way out for itself. However, now that it had seen Di Beichun and the others appear, it felt that its master's life was not in danger. Hence, it was completely at ease. At least everyone was still alive. It was just that it would be leaving first. Hearing Xiao Hei's words, White Lion's expression turned sorrowful. That's right. How could it have forgotten that self-destructing was a path of no return? If one had not been driven to a dead end, no one would have made such a choice. When Di Beichun and Mo Yunjue noticed Xiao Hei's situation, their hearts turned cold. They were secretly annoyed that they had arrived too late. If they had arrived here earlier, then the situation would not have reached such an irreversible point of no return. "Xiao Hei." Xiao Bai stared anxiously at Xiao Hei. Her face was filled with worry. "Hurry up and try to stop. You can't die like this." Seeing Xiao Bai's appearance, a smile appeared on Xiao Hei's face. "I've tried my best, but there's no way to stop this. Xiao Bai, it's great to see you again before I die." For as long as it could remember, it had lived with Xiao Bai. It had been so many years that even it could not remember how many years they had lived together. Even though they were usually noisy and chatty, in their hearts, each other had long been a part of their lives. When Xiao Bai saw Xiao Hei's appearance, her eyes turned red. Then, she charged towards Xiao Hei without hesitation. "We've always been together. Even if we die, we should die together." Noticing Xiao Bai's actions, Xiao Hei's pupils shrank. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. Xiaobai, are you crazy? Why did you come here to die? If we're going to die, we're going to die together. We've always lived together. How can you leave without me? Little White had obviously made up his mind. His face was calm and unperturbed. He then turned around and looked at Bei Chun. Master, I'm sorry. I have to go first. Remember to apologize to Mistress for me. We weren't able to accompany her to the end. However, these have been the happiest days of our lives. Don't do anything stupid. Bei Chun's expression was grave. Think of something. Perhaps there's still a way to turn things around. Hearing this, Xiao Bai and Xiao He looked at each other. Their lips curled into a smile. Since that's the case, let's give it a try. Knowing that they were going to die, they had nothing to fear. Then, Xiao He and Xiao Bai activated their cultivation techniques at the same time. They overlapped their hands, and the energy in their bodies was connected. Chapter 48-72. After noticing Xiao He and Xiao Bai's actions, everyone understood that they were trying to stop the self-detonation. Bei Chun's expression darkened. He did not know if the situation could be reversed. No one had ever tried self-detonation before. However, their predecessors' experience told them that there was no turning back from self-detonation. Even so, they still harbored a glimmer of hope in their hearts. After all, many things in this world could turn from the impossible into the possible. Why do I feel that Xiao He and Xiao Bai look like a picture when they spin? Bai sure looked at Xiao He and Xiao Bai in astonishment. Right now, he only hoped that nothing would happen to them. All these years, he had long gotten used to playing around with Xiao He and Xiao Bai. If they left just like that, he would not be able to accept it. This seems to be a yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram. Mo Yunjue raised his long eyebrows. His eyes, which were as black as a deep pool, were like stars in the dark night, revealing his deep thoughts and wisdom. Hearing this, Bei Chun nodded after taking a closer look. That's right, it's a yin-yang 8 trigrams diagram. In the past, Xiao He and Xiao Bai had used a similar technique, and it was extremely powerful. This is a very mysterious diagram that is filled with a mysterious and chaotic power. Bai Shi's eyes lit up. He had some understanding of Xiao He and Xiao Bai's trump card. However, he did not know what effect Xiao He and Xiao Bai would have on this technique. You overestimate yourselves. A mocking look appeared in Xiao Sou's eyes. Everyone knew that once someone chose to self-detonate, they would not be able to survive. She did not expect Bei Chun and the rest to be so naive. They had hoped that there would be a way out of this, and had even sacrificed the life of another contract beast. In her opinion, this was simply laughable. Compared to Xiao Sou, Jun Lingxuan was not in the mood to pay attention to these things at this moment. He was already heavily injured. They could deal with 2 contracted beasts, but now that Bei Chun and Mo Yunjue were in their peak condition, they were no match for them. Once they started fighting, they would only be courting death. Therefore, the only way now was to escape. Miss Xiao. Jun Lingxuan lowered his voice and hurriedly shouted while Bei Chun and the others were paying more attention to Xiao He. Let's run, Jun Lingxuan hurriedly said. Xiao Sou nodded repeatedly. She naturally understood how bad the current situation was. Only by quickly escaping would they have a chance of survival. In the next moment, the 2 of them turned around and retreated. Jun Zitao's face was deathly pale. He could not understand why there were so many unforeseen events today. First, Bailey Hongzhuang's strength had destroyed everything. Then, when they finally managed to turn the tables, Bei Chun and the others appeared. His mood was simply fluctuating, making it difficult for him to breathe. Jun Lingxuan quickly came to Jun Zitao's side and supported him, intending to leave. Seeing this, Jun Zitao could not help but say, "Big brother, put me down. With a burden like me, you can't escape at all." His injuries were too serious. Under Bailey Hongzhuang's attacks, it was not easy for him to be able to hold on to his last breath. Escaping with him was simply a burden. Not only was there no possibility of leaving, but everyone would have to stay here. Rather than that, it was better to abandon him and leave directly. Chapter 48-73. Looking at Jun Lingxuan's solemn and serious expression, Jun Zitao was touched. Big brother, I know you're good to me, so I can't drag you down. Let me stay here. If you die because of me, I won't be able to rest in peace. Don't spout nonsense. The outcome is still unknown. Jun Lingxuan's expression was grave and serious. He understood that given the current situation, they might not even be able to escape on their own. It would be even more difficult for them to escape with Jun Zitao. However, even though he knew the situation, he was still unwilling to give up just like that. He had never thought of giving up on his younger brother and fighting for a chance of survival for himself. Big brother, you've always cared for me since I was young. I understand that you're good to me. Even if I die here today, I won't regret it. So, don't do anything that makes me sad. Hurry up and leave. After Di Beichen and Mo Yundu noticed Xiao He and Xiao Bai's situation, there was a trace of worry between their brows. However, they could not help in this situation. The only thing they could do was pray and hope that Xiao He and Xiao Bai could turn everything around. After returning to his senses, Di Beichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with concern, but realized that the latter did not react to his appearance. Baisher, what's going on? Di Beichen hurriedly asked, as his beautiful face was filled with worry and confusion. I don't know what Jun Lingxuan did to Master to suddenly become like this. Baisher's expression was somewhat helpless. No matter how I asked, Jun Lingxuan refused to tell me. As Baisher's voice fell, Di Beichen's gaze locked onto Jun Lingxuan. When he realized that the latter was planning to escape, his eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, were immediately dyed with a deep and cold light. Jun Lingxuan, what did you do to my wife? Di Beichen's cold voice was filled with a murderous aura that almost condensed into a substance. Di Beichen's eyes narrowed, and his ink-black pupils were filled with a peerless edge. Everyone present could sense this terrifying, murderous intent and domineering aura. Even Jun Lingxuan could not help but shiver. Ever since he had met Di Beichen, he had never treated him well. However, this was the first time he had seen such a terrifying side to Di Beichen. Xiao Sou's heart was also filled with shock and horror. She had always known that Di Beichen was handsome, and she had been mesmerized by him since the first time they met. His handsome face looked as if it had been meticulously carved by the heavens. The contours of his face were as sharp as a knife, cold and hard without losing his handsomeness. Under his sharp brows, his eyes, which were as deep as the ocean, were deep and mysterious. It was as if he could devour a person's soul with just one look. At this moment, Di Beichen's entire body exuded a cold and terrifying aura. He was as noble as a god and as a messenger of hell, exuding a bloodthirsty and terrifying murderous aura. Under the influence of this murderous aura, even they could not help but tremble and feel that it was difficult to resist. It was as if this kind of person was destined to be in a superior position since he was born. He could turn everything into ashes with just a raise of his hand. The questioning words struck Jun Lingxuan's heart. Looking at the pair of terrifying and murderous eyes, he was so weak that he did not dare to answer for a moment. After a long while, he finally broke free from Di Beichen's aura. The shock in his heart grew even stronger. A cultivator from the lower realm actually had such a terrifying and shocking aura. Chapter 48-74. Di Beichen Yu. Jun Lingxuan was so intimidated by Di Beichen's aura that he was momentarily at a loss for words. He felt as if his opponent's gaze could directly freeze him into ice. That terrifying, murderous aura had almost affected his mind. Under this gaze, he did not dare to lie at all. No, this can't be. Jun Lingxuan screamed madly in his heart. His opponent was just a person whom he had never paid any attention to. Now he could actually influence his mind. This was something he would never allow. Di Beichen had already unleashed his murderous aura. He was well aware of the power of a murderous aura. That dense murderous aura could directly affect a person's mind. Under such circumstances, it was best to get the truth out of him. Jun Lingxuan's face flushed red. He gritted his teeth. Even though this feeling made him feel as if he was about to collapse, he knew very well that he absolutely could not say it out loud. Otherwise, It would be no different from trampling on his dignity. To be intimidated by a young brat from the lower realm was a joke in itself. "I won't tell you," Jun Lingxuan said coldly. Hearing this, Di Beichen's eyes turned sharp. "Since that's the case, I'll force you to tell me." That was the woman whom he had risked his life to protect. No matter what method he had to use, he would find a way to break it from Jun Lingxuan. In the next moment, Di Beichen's figure moved and directly approached Jun Lingxuan. Mo Yunjue's face had been gloomy the entire time. His eyes, which were as deep as black holes, were gathering a terrifying whirlpool storm. This damned bunch actually dared to hurt Hong Zhuang. He would never allow that to happen. Xiao Shou stood on the spot and stared blankly at Di Beichen and Mo Yunjue. She did not know why, but when faced with the murderous aura emanating from their bodies, she felt her mind go blank. It was only when the two of them were getting closer and closer that she finally reacted and hurriedly said, "Quick, let's run. Big brother, it'll be too late if we don't leave now." Jun Zitao also shouted with a pale face. He was already a cripple, and he absolutely could not implicate his elder brother. "You want to escape? Dream on." Di Beichen did not give them any chance to escape. These damned bastards, from the moment they attacked Hong Zhuang, their fate was sealed. He would definitely kill these fellows. Jun Lingxuan looked at the rapidly approaching Di Beichen, then looked at Di Beichen on the ground, and suddenly said, "How about we make a deal?" "You don't have the right to make a deal with me." Di Beichen's voice was extremely cold, revealing an unquestionable meaning. "If you kill us now, you will never know the solution to Bailey Hongzhuang's current situation." Jun Lingxuan forced himself to remain calm. Since there was no chance to escape now, he could only try to make a deal with Di Beichen. No matter what, he could not throw his life away here. "Do you think I'll believe you?" Di Beichen's gaze was as sharp as a knife, and there was a trace of disdain in his voice. "As long as you die, the thing you used on her will also disappear." "No, it's not like that." Jun Lingxuan shook his head, and his face was filled with seriousness. "I don't mind telling you that the reason she became like this is not because of the martial skill I used." "Then what is it?" Chapter 4875. As long as you promise to let us live today, I will tell you about this matter. How about it? Jun Lingxuan looked at Di Beichen with a burning gaze. This was the only way he could think of at the moment. "You trust me that much? Aren't you afraid that I'll go back on my word?" Di Beichen's eyebrows revealed a trace of astonishment. The people of the Jun family had always been crafty and crafty. He never thought that Jun Lingxuan would say something like this at this moment. "I know that you're a gentleman." Jun Lingxuan's expression was complicated, but his voice was filled with certainty. At this moment, Mo Yunjue's voice rang out. "Since you said that this matter was not caused by your martial skills, then do you have a way to resolve Hong Zhuang's current situation?" Following Mo Yunjue's words, Jun Lingxuan's expression suddenly turned ugly. He originally wanted to play dumb and fool Di Beichen into agreeing to it. Then, this matter would have a turn for the better. However, he never thought that this unfamiliar man would actually poke at the heart of the problem with his words. If it was anything else, he could make up some nonsense. However, he had no way of contacting that spirit at the moment. How was he going to resolve this? After noticing the change in Jun Lingxuan's expression, Di Beichen's expression also darkened. "Since there's no way to resolve this, then you can die." Di Beichen did not give Jun Lingxuan any chance to speak. He brandished the severed passion sword and attacked Jun Lingxuan without hesitation. This damned guy should have died long ago. The reason why they were in so much danger and why their family was in such a predicament was all because of this damned Jun family. Long before entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they had already made up their minds. As long as they met any cultivators from a Jun family, they would not show any mercy. As long as these guys were dead, the family's troubles would be much easier to resolve. Di Beichen. Jun Lingxuan could not help but shout out. However, when he saw that the other party had no intention of speaking to him, his heart turned cold. With his cultivation, he might still have a slim chance of survival if he quickly escaped now. But if he left like this, then Shi Tao would definitely not be able to survive. He couldn't do that. At the same time, Mo Yunjue attacked Xiao Sou. This ugly and despicable woman had been humiliating Hong Zhuang in every possible way. He wanted to kill her to avenge Hong Zhuang. Seeing Mo Yunjue attacking her, Xiao Sou couldn't help but ask, "What benefits did Di Beichen give you?" "I can give you double. No, 3 times. As long as you help us deal with Di Beichen, you can ask for anything you want." What do you think? From her point of view, Mo Yunjue was not a member of the Di family. As long as she gave him enough benefits, it wouldn't be difficult to convince him. However, Mo Yunjue only answered her with a weapon in his hand. He didn't even want to say a word to such an ugly woman. The battle instantly broke out again. Di Beichen did not hold back at all. His murderous aura and blood aura completely exploded. The thick blood aura mixed with the surging murderous aura formed a terrifying aura that completely exploded, enveloping Jun Lingxuan and the other 2. Jun Shitao was already seriously injured. Even after taking a pill, his condition did not improve much. At this moment, under the influence of this aura, he could not help but spit out blood. His entire face was extremely ugly. He did not doubt that if he continued to be enveloped by this aura, he would lose his life soon. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.